I hereby call the Brockton School Committee to order, it being 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. We're here at the Dr. William H.R. Nome Theater, 135 Belmont Street, Brockton, 02301. I do need to read into the record the following. Welcome to a meeting of the Brockton School Committee. This is the agenda that will be discussed this evening. Please note the hearing of visitors is included. And I have the sign-up sheet. Thank you, Mrs. Campbell. If you have a statement or question, please give your name to the secretary. Again, it's limited to 3 minutes. In addition to attending, the public can view this meeting via television on Comcast Channel 8 and also the 1071 HD version, and online via the following link, which is www.youtube.com/TheBrocktonChannels. At this time, I would ask that we please stand and salute the American flag over to the right here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do also want to thank all the veterans. We had a wonderful Veterans Day parade the other day. We had a veterans at Brockton High School as well. But one thing I want to say before I establish a quorum is last year we had 100 JROTC, Junior ROTC from Brockton High School. This year we had 300. So I think that's a round of applause right there. I will establish a quorum. Mr. Sullivan? Here. Mr. Vega? Here. Mr. Gomes? Here. Ms. Oliver? Here. Vice Chair? Here. I'm sorry. Ms. Azek? Here. Mr. Sullivan? Here. We have our student representative here this evening as well. Thank you. And Dr. Priya Tihiliani serves as clerk secretary of the school committee. At this time, we have done agenda item number 1. Agenda 2 is the hearing of visitors. I need to read this into the record as well. Pursuant to school committee policy, each person requesting to speak shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. Since this period is limited to 15 minutes, a total of 5 people shall be permitted to speak on a first-come, first-served basis. We only have one individual that's signed up tonight. Ms. Lori Mason, please. Good evening, Ms. Mason.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. I'm here to talk about the request for an audit. I heard through the grapevine it was for a city audit. I would like to add that I would like an audit and an investigation into the city, the school, all city departments, and all city employees, because there's a lot of nepotism and cronyism, we have a lot of people that are put into place who don't know have little knowledge of their position. They're put into that place, their family and friends, it's one of the reasons why we're in the situation that we're in, I believe. And so that's all I'm asking, is that it be extended to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Mason. That will conclude Agenda 2. We do not have any other hearing of visitors. Members of the committee, before we get to the report of Dr. Tihiliani, which is Agenda 3, I'm going to ask respectfully if we could take Agenda 6, which is new business, out of order. Update from Mr. Peter Reardon from the Brockton Fire Department. I also want to recognize our Fire Chief, Brian Nardelli, who is here tonight. Thank you, Chief. And then also Ms. Courtney Henderson, Director of Immigration Services. Could I entertain a motion to take that out of order, please?
Motion to take new business out of order. Second.
Motion was made. It was properly seconded. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. Opposed, raise your hand. Just for the record, it was made by Mrs. Sullivan. It was properly seconded by Mr. Gomes. At this time, Mr. Peter Reardon from the Brockton Fire Department. Mr. Reardon, please come to the podium, and good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, committee. Thank you for having me. I'm old, so I need a second to get my peepers. My name is Peter Reardon. I'm a member of the Brockton Fire Department. I've been on the Brockton Fire Department for 29 years, and recently has made a very important change in my career path. Resident of the city of Brockton for 54 years, growing up, going through Brockton Public Schools. I had 3 children within the city, all attending all Brockton Public Schools, graduating, doing well in life. Thank you to the school department for that. Very proud of the Brockton Public Schools. With that, my new position within the Brockton Fire Department is Public Safety Officer for the entire city of Brockton, and that oversees student learning with fire safety and elderly and many other aspects of the job. I oversee the SAFE grant. For those that aren't sure what the SAFE grant is, the SAFE grant is a student awareness fire education grant program for local fire departments that trains firefighter educators in the classroom to conduct fire safety education grades pre-K through 12. The primary mission of the SAFE program is to teach children key behaviors so they can prevent fires, survive those that do occur, and respond correctly to emergencies of all forms. SAFE trains firefighters to deliver age-appropriate fire and life safety lessons in close coordination with classroom teachers and health educators throughout the system. The SAFE program fosters a working partnership among firefighters, classroom teachers, and health educators. These professionals work together to introduce key fire safety behaviors like stop, drop, and roll, and making practicing home escape routes and reporting fire and emergencies to children. So oftenly, these children have to understand how to dial 911 and receive the help that they need at any time, and that's what the SAFE program does provide. Through the COVID times, we had to scale back with all of our education. It was a very tough time, and we're constantly rebuilding, trying to get back to where we were and then surpass that. Through that time, the Brockton Fire Department brought back, and we began doing third grade students only because it was required through the state as testing. Unfortunately, that was minimalized, so we have now changed that. Beginning in October, for the first time in over 6 years, starting with K through 3 program. This program began in October, and we have done the schools, already worked with the George School, Brookfield School, Angelo School, Baker School, and are currently working currently right now in the Aaron School. The third grade students do have a required test. Part of our new curriculum, we've gotten away from a paper exam and are now working toward an official website where it brings all the data, and we're able to just email that data off to the state at a moment's notice. Our new curriculum now, where we were concentrating directly on the 911 stop, drop, roll, and get low and go, now we're adding and really pushing escape routes. Escape routes are very important. I'm stressing to the students on a daily to go home. We have a new form, and each student is now getting a form, a paper where they can go home with their crayons, their markers, whatever they need to do, and do a fun activity at home with their adults and get this escape routes, and then we instruct them, put that on the refrigerator, the back door, understanding that a meeting place, a solid meeting place, is essential to their safety. Another form of our new curriculum is cell phone usage. If you pick up a cell phone, anyone in the room, you may not know this, you can call 911 from any cell phone. It doesn't have to be yours. When you get to a lock screen at the bottom of your cell phone, it says emergency. You just press that number, that emergency, and that will dial 911 for you. And these kids are now learning this. These kids are so smart. They're so smart. So that's another key thing to our new curriculum. The future is bright here in Brockton. We're doing well. We're moving forward. We're educating these kids, and they're receiving this education. What we need to do is bring a bright, positive attitude and show teamwork. This is what our students are learning. Be team members, just like the fire department does. Okay, engine company guys can't put water on the fire if the ladder company guys can't get the heat out the top. So that's what we're teaching these kids. Be teammates, work together, and show love for the city and for our families. Future plans are bringing new curriculum. We're adding new customized coloring books with actually educational information within these coloring books. They're not just color and go, they're learning, and these kids are actually learning. You can see it. New escape route plans, and we're bringing follow-ups, okay? I have an intention to work with the superintendent and talk about the possibility of bringing some form of education to the high school, whether it be community schools or something along that nature. With all of that, if the committee has any questions for me, I'd like to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Reardon. Any members of the committee have any questions for Peter?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Vega, please.
In your work with students, like what are you finding most surprising in terms of what their current understanding of fire safety is versus where they end at the end of the curriculum?
Honestly, I have an issue with stop, drop, and roll. When I say to a student, what do you do when your house catches on fire? I have young children telling me, I stop, drop, and roll. So I'm working very, very diligently to work on get low and go. I want to change that behavior. I do not want to get rid of stop, drop, and roll. It's very important. But they need to understand the difference. When fire is touching you, Stop, drop, and roll. When fire's around or near you, get away from it. Basic, and just driving that into these kids so they understand it.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
for what
question.
you're doing.
Any other questions for Mr. Reardon? Peter, we want to thank you for, first of all, congratulations on your new appointment. I want to thank the chief, Brian Nardelli in the back there. Thank you, chief. And again, we look forward to working with you on this endeavor. It's extremely important.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am passionate about this position, the potential for our youth to grow and learn. And who knows, maybe together we can make the new fire chief.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Next individual, and I want to thank her for being here. I see her every day in my office. Ms. Courtney Henderson, please. Good evening, Ms. Henderson.
Good evening, Mayor. Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a long time.
I know, right? So long. Good evening, school committee members, and good evening to everyone else. I want to formally introduce myself because I don't think I've gotten the pleasure of meeting every single one of you, but my name is Courtney Henderson. I'm the Director of Immigration Affairs for the City of Brockton, serving inside of the Mayor's office. I wanted to first introduce myself and then talk about some of the initiatives and then talk about ways that I can help support you all in my role and support the programming that you all are doing because there is an alignment there. So I've had the pleasure of building partnerships throughout the city and enhancing the community support and addressing the needs of our migrant population here in the city of Brockton. So some of the things that I'm going to mention are just a few, literally just barely scraping the surface of some of the things that I've been doing for the city of Brockton. So the first thing that I would love to mention, because I would love to invite you all to these meetings, is that I host our monthly Immigration Coalition Services meetings. These happen every second Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. via Zoom. They used to be hybrid, but we found that hybrid's not always the best. So we have now moved it completely to a virtual setting where we talk about policy updates, not only at the federal level, but at the state level. We talk about some of the efforts that are taking place throughout the city of Brockton and some upcoming things that are in the pipeline that we would like to bring to the city of Brockton. These coalition meetings are comprised of faith-based leaders, so church pastors. We have nonprofit organizations that attend these meetings. We have a few school staff that meet. Kelly Jones is amazing, so she never misses a meeting. And we also have Janice Plumer Johnson, I think that's her name. Mm-hmm. She attends very consistently, but we would love to have more people join. And then we have healthcare providers that talk about the mental and the trauma that our new arrivals face when coming into the United States. So this is just a few of the people that attend these meetings. And again, we resource share, we brainstorm, and we problem solve as a one, rather than me coming in and providing solutions based off my own understanding, but really taking the collective understanding of those in our organization. So those are our Immigration Coalition services meetings that we have. The other thing is that I host consistently citizenship clinics. So the last one that we hosted was on October 18th at the Brockton Public Library, where we allowed eligible members to apply for citizenship, and there are criteria that make them eligible for that. So we did host that, and I continue to host those throughout the remainder of my time here in the city of Brockton. The other thing is that I do make my way to different churches and organizations to do listening sessions. So I don't always sit at my desk. So I do actually go out in the community and attend whenever I'm called on to listen to those and provide information to our migrant serving population. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is tackling the language access plan for the city of Brockton, which we currently don't have. I know at the state level we have a communication plan, a language access plan to be more exact, where state agencies are required to provide information in multiple languages. While we're not required to follow that format, I would like to mirror what the state does, so I try to work on translating the most common forms and information and brochures that we have in the city of Brockton and translate those into the main languages, which is Spanish, Portuguese, Haitian Creole, and Cape Verdean Creole. I'm very lucky to have a wonderful team in the mayor's office that speak multiple languages, so I only speak Spanish and English, and so I do rely on them to cover those other languages. So those are just a few of the things that I would love to continue to tackle as the Director of Immigration. What's most important for why I'm here and why the mayor had asked for me to be here is that one of the things that I envisioned when I took this role is to break the silos that the city works in, and break the duplication of efforts that we have. Rather than have the schools do their own immigration services and the Brockton Public Library do their own services, and then me do my own immigration services, I want to really work together and combine resources, because we are stronger together, and I truly believe that. And so part of this reason why I'm speaking with you all is to let you know that I'm here to support you, and I'm also looking for the support from you all as well. And again, I already gave praise to Kelly Jones, but she has been amazing in terms of being able to do interpretation for some of the listening sessions that I plan to host in the next few months as we transition to a new federal administration. I know that that's one of the biggest concerns that this office has faced, with a lot of calls, tearful calls, to be honest with you all. But really, my goal is to avoid duplication of efforts, to combine resources, enhance access to resources, expanding our language access, and then also just showing a united front. That is most important to the community. Well, in my opinion, that is the most important part, is showing a united front. Because when a city is divided, it doesn't give much trust to our community. And with that, I will close out my presentation and entertain any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. That was
Thank you,
excellent.
Mayor.
Any questions for Courtney? Ms. Oliver, please, followed by Mr. Gomes.
Do you have a plan of way to work with the school system to help our immigrant students, especially with the election that just happened, with the fear of,
Absolutely.
what's about to happen with the mass deportation, especially our kids, of what's going to happen to their parents, and get them ready mentally, emotionally, what they're seeing on the news and what's the possibility of what could happen to their parents, and helping us, not only the school committee, but the community, and also get therapy and counseling available to help them deal with the changes and what we can do, not only as the school department, but also as a community, to support them, to guide them, and see how we can be a better community, because we are a city of champion.
Yes.
And we don't want to tarnish that name by turning them against them, because they are our community, they are our kids, and we are legally to educate them, and those are their parents, and we also have to support them and love them, and we have to basically figure out how we can work as one.
That is a beautiful question, and that is something that I think about often. So one of the first things that I'm working on is creating a space at the Brockton Public Library to have trained clinicians to talk about the trauma and the anxiety that people feel, because we have to address that first. We know that we don't know what's to come in the next couple of months, but we want to at least provide a space that's safe for them to share those concerns. So it's not complete yet, but I am confident enough to share this with you all, is that starting pretty soon we will have drop-in sessions at the library. It's a very small, intimate space at the library, but we'll have trained clinicians to talk through the traumas that people feel. And if they just want a safe space to share what they're experiencing as we lead up to our transition, they will have that space. And I will be there. I'm not a clinician, but I can at least give a policy perspective, because I do want to still be honest in the information that I share. I don't want to tell people to not fear or not to worry, because that's not fair to tell someone not to worry when they should. But I will be there for a policy standpoint, and then we'll also have an attorney from the Justice Center that will be able to give the legal background on what's allowed, constitutionally in terms of deportation. Then to pivot to the other part of your question, we are hosting listening sessions with the Brockton Public Schools. I've been working very closely with Kelly Jones, and we are collaborating and offering a series of listening sessions where people can share some of the concerns that they have. And while this is really taken care of at the federal level, we can at least affirm them that we will not work with ICE, which we are legally not allowed to do. We can refuse to give information over to ICE, and we can protect them in that way. And then we can provide a ramp up of wraparound services, which is within our coalition that I had mentioned earlier in my presentation, providing an expansive version of what we've already been providing, so that we can at least eliminate some of the fear that they're feeling.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gomes, please.
Thank you for the work that you guys have been doing. It's good to hear that you guys are trying to come together rather than have all these different
Yes.
separate entities doing the same thing.
Thank you.
We can go further by working together. My question is, you mentioned the citizenship clinic. Is that free of charge?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So we have a partnership with Mirror Coalition. They are completely pro bono. They're amazing. We worked with them for our first citizenship clinic. And I know you all have worked with Project Citizenship, which is also free. That's another partnership that I had brought with me to the city when I left Somerville. But this is no cost to them as long as they're eligible, and there's a pre-screening process, so we don't waste people's time and tell them that they can come apply and when they're not eligible. But the attorneys pre-screen them, and then after they have passed the screening, they're able to schedule an appointment, and then they come to the library to do that application.
And how I have a lot of people that have reached out to me to help with
Good.
these because
We need volunteers.
Yeah, I've done a bunch. I'm good. But the thing
Sign
is,
them up, Courtney.
I'm writing you down.
they one, the language barrier,
Yep.
technology and so on and so forth. But the other one is if they look for someone to do it, they have to pay the fee, and then there's the actual fee that you pay for the application.
Right.
So if they wanted to get in touch with you, how would they?
Oh,
how
I can give you my
refer
business
people to-
cards.
Okay.
Or just call the mayor's office. I'm sure
Okay.
someone will transfer the call to me. So with Mirror Coalition, I can't speak for Project Citizenship, but for Mirror Coalition, if they're under a certain income limit, there's no fee. They will apply automatically for a fee waiver. But if they make more than, I have to look at the percentage, but if they make more than the average income, then they do have to pay an application fee, which is pretty hefty. But for the most part, when we did our first citizenship clinic, everyone was eligible for the fee waiver, and we were able to put forth their application free of charge.
Okay. Just a follow-up. If they're above the income, is there like a cost sharing, or they have to pay the full amount?
They have to pay the full,
Okay.
that I'm aware of. And I can
Thank
look into it more and let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Combs. Mr. Vega?
Hi, Jorge.
I can really attest to the fact that Ms. Henderson is out there looking to build bridges. I got to see her recently at a library meeting where she was actively building some exciting connections with the library services. I also really am excited to hear about this expanded language access. The idea that the city, including this body, might start to pivot in the direction that DESI requires our schools to do. It's not an option for schools to provide multiple language service and communication. It's essential. And I think what often gets confused is that folks think about it as a service to those who don't speak English, as opposed to a service to the city who gains insight from those folks who come with a multitude of experiences.
Yep.
We had a Brockton's school site council meeting last year, and it just so happened at the time the interim principal spoke Cape Verdean Creole fluently. At that meeting, a gentleman who had stayed quiet for every meeting prior, he understood English at a high level, wasn't as comfortable speaking it. He dropped a bomb on the group. And it turned out that he was an educator of more than 30 years in Cape Verde and dropped so much information that changed the whole trajectory of the conversation and some of the goals that we were setting on that committee. So expanded language access is a boon to
Thank
the
you.
city in terms of our ability to move forward. So with that said, knowing that you're pushing for partnerships, within our domain, have you connected with community schools, the Adult Learning Center?
They're amazing. They come to all of my monthly meetings. They're always ready to help. They are literally the example that everyone should follow, is that they're constantly calling me, Courtney, what can I do to help? What can I offer this to you? Is this useful to you? So not only are they offering help, but they're asking if it's useful, because sometimes there are things that come to me and I'm like, well, that's great, but we're not really in need of that right now. And I'm glad that you gave an example of the language access, because there has been a couple of city council meetings where people gave testimonies and they felt more comfortable giving that testimony in their native language. And city council is sitting there not knowing what's being said to them. And that is something that I've also worked with them, is saying, look, this is a mutual beneficial arrangement. This is not just for them. This is also for you to better serve our community. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Henderson? Mr. Sullivan, please.
Thank you. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
You had mentioned you're going to have meetings on the second Tuesday of the month?
Yes.
What time is that going to be?
That's at 1 p.m., and I'm happy to share that Zoom link with you, and anyone is welcome. I know a lot of people ask for permission to share, and I appreciate the courtesy, but any and everyone who's willing to help is welcome to those meetings.
So that Zoom link will be
Yep.
posted?
I can share that with you. It hasn't been advertised on like city website. This is something that kind of just grown, and I
Right.
just share with others who reach out to me. But if this is something that you think would be useful to share more publicly, I'm happy to do that because I'm not hiding anything.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
One other thing, it's just Courtney was excelling in the city of Somerville as immigration services and immigration affairs, and I'm not going to say we poached her, but we poached her. So we thank you. She's
you.
actively involved in a lot of things in the city, from the NAACP
Yeah.
to everything. So we thank you, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll
Thank
see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you very much for taking both those individuals out of order. We'll now go to Agenda 3, which is the report of Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Priya Tahiliani, please.
Yes, thank you. And we'll start with the teaching and learning update. And so the first item is our student representative report.
Good evening, Mayor Sullivan,
evening.
Dr. Tahiliani, Superintendent of Schools, Vice Chair Mr. Tony Rodriguez, and the rest of the distinguished school committee members. Thank you for having me here today and for all the effort that you continue to put towards ensuring that all Brockton students have a safe and effective learning environment. Before I get started, I would like to introduce the senior class officers, President Joyce Favors, Vice President Anaya Figueroa Perez, Secretary Jayla Alves, Treasurer Mia Kanji, who will be briefly joining me today. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mia. We are the class officers for senior class of 2025. This is Jayla over here, our secretary, our vice president, Anaya, and Joy, our president. I'm the class treasurer, and basically we're just hoping to raise more for the school and bring in better opportunities while kids are having fun, and have them more fun, but it brings in something for us so we can have things for prom. So we're basically here to ask for a plea because I'm so sorry. Do you want me to restart? Okay. So for the upcoming month, we're planning a raffle for everybody so we can raise money for our school, where a winner gets picked every once of the day for the whole month, and they're able to receive a prize. And from that, we're able to get more money for prom, so it can be cheaper for everybody, so it's more accessible for them, while they're able to have a good time. And from that. But from that, we're asking for you guys kindly if you guys can donate anything your heart desires. It can be anything little, like a homemade gift basket, a gift card. If you have a business you want to represent for them, you can help with that. It's just any little thing to at least keep it going. And it's your community helping our school with this, and it's not gonna get help me, please. And from this, yeah. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
I'm Joy, the president. Just to reiterate, it's a calendar event for the whole month of January. It's projected to start January 1st, but we need a minimum of 31, however many days are in January, gifts or donations for the calendar. And right now we have promises of donations, but no tangible or physical donations yet. So anything, I think last year you guys donated towards the class because we did a similar or the same calendar fundraiser. So anything, like Mia said, businesses, small businesses, large businesses, if you could help round up like even large chain businesses. We do some proposals to those large chain businesses, but anything that you could do to help support the fundraiser and our school for prom. That's all. Oh, any questions?
Well, first of all, that was great. Just a quick question. If, like, I'll drop 4 $25 Amazon cards tomorrow, gift cards, but where do we bring them? Do we bring them to the principal's office? I don't want to thank Principal McCaskill, he's here, but how do we get them to you?
So you can email our advisors. Ms. Tucker is here and Mr. Brophy. And I think you can bring them to the front desk at our school if you're going to bring like physical things. Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Azek.
Thank you so much. So yes, last year a few of us, I believe we donated a television, but let's get some prizes. Let's get some fundraising going for you. Do you guys have a tax ID number, Ms. Tucker? So they can start getting some gift card donations, or at least a letter that can go to some of the restaurants. I know restaurants, spas. Okay, perfect. So I'd be more than happy to chat with you guys. There's quite a few businesses that are always willing to help our students. Those that are watching, if you have a business, or even just a $25 or a $50 gift card, or even a money donation, and they can buy a gift. But you have to just go through, I believe, the advisors. But this is an exciting time. And Ms. Tucker, sorry to put you on the spot, but I think last year the fundraiser that you had was able to reduce the prom ticket.
Yes, that's
So
what all of our
that's the goal.
fundraisers go toward. Yeah.
By about $20, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have a few hundred students that are going to this, what about 500-600 kids? 600 kids at $20 price reduction is huge, and it's usually at Patriot Place if they haven't switched it. So it's a $20 might not sound like a lot of money to some of the adults, but it's a lot when it's a student. Not only do you have to pay for your tickets to go to prom, you know, ladies, your gowns, guys, your tuxes. So every little bit helps. If we as a community can just step up, anyone that's got a business, reach out. You have our class of 2025, and then you have Mr. Brophy and Ms. Tucker. Or you can reach out to any of the school committee members or the mayor or school department. Just let us know if you have a donation. We'll direct you. But we got to step up and help our kids. So thank you, guys. So we'll donate something. We'll get something going.
Thank you. Thank you.
Should I be moving again?
Sorry, Judy. Can you? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I got a big.
On October 17th from 5 to 7 p.m., Brockton High hosted their first annual Parent-Teacher Conference, where many parents and teachers had insightful conversations about the students. Spirit Week. From October 21st to October 25th, Brockton hosted the school year's first Spirit Week. The themes included Dress as Your Type Day, Decades Day, Teacher-Student Swap, Character Day, and School Spirit Day. On October 29th, all of the juniors had taken the PSAT administered by College Board for both math and English. Students should expect their results over the course of the next few weeks. On October 29th, Brockton hosted Trunk or Treat here in the parking lot of Brockton High. We got to see many festive costumes and decorations that day. On Thanksgiving morning, the Brockton High football team will be playing Bridgewater Raynham here at Brockton High's Marciano Stadium. Students in all grades were taking MCAS makeups and retests with November 9th, November 8th for ELA, November 13th for math, and November 15th as the last day for both. The National Honor Society program is hosting their first Thanksgiving drive that will be running until November 25th. Anyone interested in donating can do so at the main office at Brockton High School. Brockton High hosted an assembly for students with perfect attendance in the months of September and October, where 350 students received an award.
That's great.
Thank you for your time.
That was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll go on to the next one, or any questions? Or anything?
Any questions for the student representative this time? I'm sorry. Mr. Vega.
What percentage of students do you think chose to dress as Principal McCaskill?
A lot, actually. Yeah, a lot. A lot of bald heads that day.
Any other questions? Again, we're very thankful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
Thank you. You too.
You saw his video.
All right, so I will move on to the next presentation. I'm going to start with highlights as I generally do, and then we'll be jumping into our DESE MOU. Start with you. Actually, we'll start with this one. All right. All right, so, grab the clicker. Sorry. All right, so I'm actually going to start with the DESE MOU. So as you may remember from my presentation on October 15th, I had referred to our Memorandum of Understanding with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and how I would be providing y'all with an update on our progress today, November 19th. So I'm excited to present this to you today. So as a reminder, in October of 2020, BPS signed an MOU with DESE, where we agreed to take substantial steps towards district-wide improvement in several different areas. In 2024, DESE updated and amended the MOU to reflect the progress that had already been made, but also to outline the work that still needed to be done. So just as a reminder, so some of these slides will be familiar, here are the requirements of the original DESE MOU, which include district improvement plans, hiring of a consultant, consistent leadership team meetings, monthly meetings between DESE and the superintendent, DESE and the district design team meetings, DESE support for our district improvement plan, as well as regular updates to the school committee, like we're doing today, and to DESE. So all of these agreements are on track, and the district has shown significant progress in the implementation of each of these since 2020. And in fact, our last update regarding the progress we have made on our MOU was given to DESE in spring of this year, and now we are doing ours for you all today. So here are the criteria outlined in the MOU regarding district improvement plans. So at a high level, they focus on improvements around the district's use of data related to student performance, implementation of high-quality curriculum district-wide, our educator evaluation procedures, taking steps to better support students with disabilities and English learners, continued implementation of positive behavioral supports to eliminate inequities in discipline, and addressing non-compliance issues in the tiered focus monitoring report. So these are the areas where DESE offered to provide support for this work, including plan development and implementation, leadership development, support for creating a DEI office, diversifying our teacher workforce, supporting the work of the district design team, facilitating the English learner program evaluation, professional development, and more. So BPS was provided with metrics for determining progress in better supporting students with disabilities. They required that we develop data tracking metrics and to track our progress in placing students with disabilities in the least restrictive environments. Also, the benchmark with both of these is alignment with the state rates of 13.2% of students aged 6 through 21 in substantially separate settings and 22.2% for students aged 3 through 5. And the MOU, again, requires that we report to DESE on data analysis once per quarter. So this graph compares overall rates of eligibility under IDEA in Brockton to the rate across the state. So during the 2023-2024 school year, approximately 19.6% of BPS students were identified as being eligible for special education and or related services. And in the state of Massachusetts, that rate was 20.2%. So the district has just submitted our October 1st, 2024 enrollment reports to DESE, and we're waiting to determine for this school year where we stand in relation to the state. That data is not yet available from DESE. However, we do know our enrollment as of October 1st. And this graph again compares the rates of eligibility under IDEA in Brockton to the rate across the state. So as of October 1st, the number of eligible students at the pre-kindergarten level is up a total of 36 students as compared to October 1st of 2023. So overall at the K-12 level, special education enrollment is down 451 students as compared to October 1st, 2023. So while these data reflect the overall enrollment of eligible students, it is also important to note that students are educated in a variety of placements, ranging from full inclusions to a residential program. And so now we're going to look at the placements of our eligible students. So these tables show us the percent of eligible students in their placement type by year going back to 2020. So the data to the left are the rates of placement in Brockton versus the state rates of placement on the right. So last year, school year 2023-24, 57.8% of Brockton students were educated in full inclusion versus the state rate of 67.1%. 10.7% of Brockton students were enrolled in a partial inclusion program as compared to 12.8% of the state, and 26% of Brockton students are enrolled in a substantially separate placement as compared to 13.5% of the state. So the data on the previous slide is reflective of enrollments up until the end of last school year, and this table reflects the current population of eligible students as of yesterday and their placements. So at the K-12, most of our students are educated within the district. 62% of eligible students are placed in inclusive settings, with 25% in a substantially separate setting. At the pre-K level, based on enrollments as of November 18th, so yesterday, 52% of our eligible students are placed in an integrated or inclusive setting. 36% are placed in a substantially separate setting, and 12% receive services only, for example, speech or occupational therapy. So it's important to note that our number of eligible students will grow throughout the year as the eligible process is ongoing at any given time. And we have been tracking placement decisions as they're made through our data hub and have been working on supporting the inclusion of students with disabilities in general education through multiple initiatives outlined in our Inclusion Action Plan. Another piece of data that is also actively monitored is making progress toward the goal outlined in our MOU is the longitudinal data provided by DESE that monitoring consistent cohorts of our students over a 4-year span to examine their placement trajectory over time. So this graph monitors the placement of students over time. So the visual to the left is monitoring the placement of eligible students who begin in an inclusive setting and where they are placed 4 years later. So we are monitoring this to ensure that our inclusive program is responsive to student needs and does not lead to more restrictive placements as time goes on for our students. Our trend data suggests that during the 2020 to 2024 school year span, 74% of students who began in an inclusive setting remained in an inclusive setting, with about 20% of students eligible having made sufficient progress to where they are no longer eligible under IDEA. The visual on the right shows the same placement data, but for students who begin in a substantially separate setting. Our monitoring of this data focuses on the progression of students to more inclusive placements over time. So our trend data suggests that during the 2020 to 2024 school year span, 66% of students who began in a substantially separate placement remained in a substantially separate placement. The data also suggests that 25% of students who began in a substantially separate placement moved to an inclusive setting, the highest percentage of move the district has seen since the monitoring began. This visual tracks the same data, but this time examines placement of cohorts over time. So the first row shows placement trajectory for students going back to the 2014 to 2018 school year span. We've seen the percent of students who begin in substantially separate, who end up in more inclusive settings rise, which is what we want. During the 2015 to 2019 school year span, only 12% of students who began in substantially separate placement had moved to a more inclusive setting. And you compare that with the 19% from the 2019 to 2023 cohort and the 25% of the 2020 to 2024 cohort, and you'll see that we are making progress over time. So these steady gains in more inclusive placements for our students with disabilities is what we are aiming for. So while the district continues to monitor placement decisions and work toward a more inclusive culture in the district, we also recognize that each year students enroll in the district with placements that are predetermined from other communities that then impact our placement rates. So this slide shows the total number of newly enrolled students who have entered the district since July 1 of 2024. So the data shows that 117 new students enrolled in the district since July, and of those students, approximately 40% enrolled with active IEPs that called for substantially separate settings at the elementary level, and 52% of newly enrolled students enrolled with IEPs calling for substantially separate settings at the older level. The work to is that right? Yes. The work of monitoring toward our MOU goal continues, and preliminary data suggests movement towards our collective vision of learning in the least restrictive environment. Of course, we do know that there is more work to do in this area. So as per the MOU, BPS also agreed to take ambitious steps to ensure that our English learners are effectively integrated into general education classrooms. So as per the MOU, we were required to demonstrate that English learners in dual language programs are receiving appropriate ESL instruction, and that 100% of English learners with disabilities are receiving appropriate ESL instruction. We were also charged in creating a clear plan and achievable timeline to carry out the chosen ELE programs in the least segregated manner. And we were tasked with creating a clear timeline and implementation plan for ESL curriculum development. Included in our ambitious steps was the transition to the Wonders curriculum at our dual language school. We've also created steering committees to support the development and implementation of curriculum at the secondary level, and changed how English learners are scheduled at the high school level to increase opportunities to develop their English language skills. As presented in October, our bilingual department continues to seek ways to increase the number of licensed educators to lead classrooms and provide support for our English learners. They are active in the community, supporting families and bridging the homeschool relationships. And the department works collaboratively with our departments within the district, as well as consistently looking for ways to partner with DESE, other districts, and other institutions to learn from and enhance our programming. And I know Kelly Jones had come to a previous meeting to talk about our National Professional Development Grant that we got, and she is actually receiving that grant at this time, which is why she was not able to join us today. But again, we are making progress in this area as well. Another aspect of the MOU is focused on improving our four-year graduation rate for students with disabilities, which was significantly lower than the states at the time. To get there, we've been working on interventions to support our students, transitional approaches that focus on 8th graders transitioning to high school, planning for implementation of Mass Core, and expanding learning opportunities for our students. So the targets for increasing the graduation rate for students with disabilities included a change to the graduation requirements for all students. So that change was presented to you in March, May, and June of last year, and you voted on June 27, 2024 to adopt Mass Core as the graduation requirement for the students entering 9th grade at BHS in September of 2025. In preparation for that shift, BHS has researched schedule options, engaged in DESE trainings, and began messaging the change to students and families. We've also developed an internal tracking system to ensure students, families, and educators are able to monitor students' progress towards Mass Core implementation. So within the next few months, the graduation policy for Brockton High will be brought before you. Through bargaining, the school will also need a new schedule to ensure all students have the opportunity to meet the full range of required courses. Our MOU has also asked us to focus on four-year graduation rates for our students with disabilities, like I mentioned, and the district has organized our efforts around three focus areas of work: small group interventions for eligible students, greater access to school-based resources, and post-graduation supports. So relative to our small group interventions for eligible students, the Special Education Department received an increase in our federal grant award and have used that to conduct a root cause analysis that has led to providing targeted interventions and supports to engage students in their own learning, provide students necessary behavioral and social emotional interventions, and focus supports in other areas that students may need support, such as executive functioning, positive choices, healthy relationships, etc. Relative to greater access to school-based resources, the Special Education Department, using a risk analysis, has targeted those students who may be at a greater risk of failing one or more academic classes with streamlined access to credit recovery programs, individual or small group tutoring, as well as providing career exploration and coaching to students and their families. For post-graduation supports, the Special Education Department has also worked to strengthen our relationships with BSU through access to a college liaison and vocational coaches, as well as partnerships with South Shore Hospital through the Transitions to Work program, as well as long-term career and community support for our BHS graduates. Some additional provisions were improving the implementation of our educator evaluation systems, implementing strategies to ensure shared understanding of high-quality curriculum, and implementing strong HR systems and procedures. So in those efforts, Brockton has fully adopted and implemented Power School Perform as our educator evaluation system. Perform is an online platform that assists in managing educator evaluations in accordance with DESE regulations. It has and will continue to assist both educators and evaluators with evaluations, observations, and adherence to due dates. So since the initial soft rollout in spring of 2024, Perform has strengthened the educator evaluation process for Brockton Public Schools. And here are just a few of the ways that the implementation of Perform has improved the educator evaluation system. So as you can see, it's allowed for ongoing communication between multiple offices, which has drastically reduced confusion around educator assignments. Required forms to be used and where evaluation and observations will be housed and filed is now more consistent. Based on the positive feedback we received from lead teachers in the buildings as well as other teachers in the district, I am confident that Perform will continue to strengthen our evaluation system. So as for our high quality curriculum, for pre-K to 5, our high quality instructional curriculum is firmly in place for all elementary schools in ELA and math. So this year our focus is on further enhancing the implementation of Tier 1 instruction and building structures, knowledge, and skills to support progress monitoring and Tier 2 instruction. Our instructional priority guides our work, emphasizing support for our English learners and our students with disabilities in particular. For grades 6 through 12, our Learning Acceleration Network focuses on the work in our middle school ELA and ESL classrooms, supporting teachers and leaders through the use of common planning time. The team also is engaging in cross-district PD through this network, which focuses on accelerating literacy skills for our multilingual learners. High school ELA teachers are piloting 2 high-quality curriculum resources with the plan to identify 1 for adoption by January of 2025. So ELA teachers at both BHS and BVLA are part of this pilot, and teachers will pilot both before one is put forward for consideration. For science, Amplify Science is working with our middle school science teachers to support their understanding of the language and literacy demands. And through continued coaching and support, teachers will be able to implement identified strategies to promote English learners' academic language development and science understanding. Also, our Carnegie Math coaches continue to support our teachers across grades 6 through 12 with planning for effective instruction, again during common planning time, by modeling lessons, and by providing feedback during observed lessons to support effective math instruction. So last year, as we think about our professional development to ensure the implementation of high-quality curriculum and instruction, last year we adopted DIBELS 8 as our reading screener. Data is collected from all students in grades K to 3, 3 times a year and more frequently for students who require additional support. And teachers have been engaged in professional development that focuses on using that data to plan for and monitor the impact of the instruction. Professional development for grades levels pre-K to 5 continues in the area of science of reading and supporting English learners and students with disabilities. And finally, principals and other leaders are engaging in professional development in the science of reading and engaging in regular feedback cycles to improve planning through school visits. For 6 through 12, teachers and leaders engage in regular data review and analysis with the specific focus, again, for our English learners and our students with disabilities. Staff meetings and in-service sessions are all grounded in the use of data to plan for effective instruction that is meeting the needs of all students. And we also conduct regular monitoring and feedback cycles through learning walks with the assistant superintendents, building and district leaders several times per month. We also have PD for our principals, which is again focused on data to drive school improvement and leading efforts to support implementation of the district instructional priority. Every core content area has also established teacher leader teams to support the use of high quality curriculum resources and effective teaching. Teacher leaders support a Train the Trainer program aimed at enhancing professional development for teachers and implementing the high quality curriculum resources and supporting our teachers in, again, developing those effective instructional practices. So the work of these teams supports our overall district instructional priority. We also have a pre-K through 5 teaching and learning one stop, which is sort of our one-stop shop for district guidance documents for teachers and principals. Here are housed expectations for curriculum, instruction, and assessment, as well as opportunities for professional development. This document is regularly updated with information that supports our instructional coherence across the district. The pre-K through 5 teaching and learning updates for families provides information to families about our curriculum and assessment systems, as well as strategies to support students at home. And both sites include a translate button to ensure that all stakeholders can access this information. As for enhancing our human resources systems, here are the general areas that we have been focusing on. So to start, we are working to ensure that all student-facing positions, including our classroom positions and high-level cabinet positions, are fully staffed with high-quality candidates that have relevant experience to meet our district needs. The HR office conducts recruitment for positions through various sources, including School Spring, the BPS website, recruitment fairs, and once we've chosen candidates, all of their onboarding materials are processed through Munis. HR also ensures proper licensure for educators based on assignments, not only at the time of hire, but also through a periodic review of licensure to be sure all licenses are valid and up to date. The HR administrators also assist principals and with contract language to be sure staff are held accountable. So HR works in collaboration with Professional Development Office on educator evaluation timelines. In 2021, following the execution of our original MOU, a new position for the Director of Hiring, Evaluation, and Supervision was added to HR to actually support this goal. Unfortunately, because of the budget, we did have to move away from that role, but we have shifted and absorbed that work in the HR department, and specifically our Director of Professional Growth. HR has also partnered with JET, Journey into Education and Teaching, to assist paraprofessionals on the path to obtaining a bachelor's degree in order to pursue eventually an educator's license. HR has also utilized the DESE Diversification Grant funds to provide financial assistance to current employees seeking their educator license by partnering with Bridgewater State and Full Circle. HR has offered graduate level coursework, MTEL prep classes, and MTEL vouchers. And the diversification grant has supported paraprofessionals, monitor teacher assistants, and current teachers working under an emergency license waiver. HR has also provided regular guidance and support for existing teachers who are working under those emergency licenses and waivers as they work towards a provisional or educator license. The district has also implemented new evaluation tools, for example, for BESPA and non-union staff, in order to, again, make sure that we are also meeting that MOU goal of appropriate educator evaluation. And finally, HR has implemented an exit interview questionnaire for staff who separate from the district in order to gain insight into reasons staff leave, with the hopes that we can retain more staff. And here, the MOU, as you know, also addresses two areas that I've given separate presentations on, one being our fiscal infrastructure, and I will be providing, as I mentioned at our last monthly meeting, an update once per month, but so you know that the DESE findings were also aligned with the investigation findings, even though those are much more extensive. So when I am providing those updates, it does align with what DESE wanted to see as well. And then the final portion of our MOU was our safety audit, which again, I'll be coming to you in January to provide you with another update on how we're doing with our safety and operations. But just as a reminder, this was the presentation we did in October, again, as per the DESE requirement, not only for the MOU, but because of the DESE safety audit that we did, where we went through these slides about what has been done, what we are doing, and what we are continuing to explore. So I look forward to being able to present on that separately again to give you an update on where we are in those areas. And that brings me to the end of the MOU implementation presentation. I do just want to thank the district leadership team who is here tonight. I know this was a long presentation to sit through, but just imagine the amount of work that has gone into making sure that all of these things are in place, much of which was done well before I got here. So I just want to thank them for all of their hard work, and thank all of our principals, all of our educators around the district, because this is a tremendous undertaking, and they really have been moving the work forward for our students. So I appreciate that. And if we do have any specific questions about that, the team is here if there are any specific questions. And then once we're done with that, I will provide you with another presentation. I know you're excited, on just highlights throughout the district.
Thank you, Superintendent. Any questions? Ms. Oliver, please.
Question. Thank you for all the hard work. That's a lot of work. I think nothing has been left undone. I think you guys focus not only academic-wise for the students, but also how to support all the educators and way while they're implementing all the new way to educate us students, but also how do we support them to make sure they have all the resources and the guidance they need from all the leaders at Central to make sure it runs smooth. So a lot of this has already been implemented. Has there been already implemented little steps? Have you guys got any feedbacks from some of the educators, how it's going and how they feel about? Anybody?
I don't know if anybody, as you come up, I'm happy to speak to just what I've heard.
Any grade levels?
But yeah, if anybody wants to come up and speak in particular, I know that in coming here, and I'm new to the district, so I get to kind of hear it with fresh ears of what's been going on in the district. And it is, again, very impressive, again, as somebody who's coming in from outside, to see the amount of work, to see the PCLTs, did I say that acronym right? Yes, okay, to see the learning walks, it's a tremendous amount of work, a lot of staff, principals, our district leadership team looking at data, digging into the data, figuring out what are the best teaching strategies in order to support our students. We have consultants coming in who are doing training. So basically everything they're doing is aligned to making sure that we're moving forward as a district. And I've heard positive feedback just about the tremendous amount of support that our team is providing here. And it goes through everything, right? Because there's all of the instructional portions and the operational portions that DESE brought up in that MOU, but they're all I mean, there are a million things that go on in a district. There's the civil
Exactly.
rights training. There's there's so many different areas where the district has moved forward over time. And, just procedures and operations and protocols that our principals have become so much more adept at. Obviously, there's always work to be done. But I've been impressed with what I've seen, and I've gotten good feedback about what's been happening. Despite the challenges, that everybody faced last year, I think it's pretty incredible how everybody just kept moving it forward and showing up for kids.
Thank you.
Any other, Mrs. Sullivan, please?
I just wanted to make sure on the Mass Core is being implemented for grade 9 in September 2025.
Yes, and I know Mr. McCaskill is here, and there's more than monthly meetings. There are like several different kinds of meetings that are happening with DESE to support through the implementation of Mass Core. So I know that they are on track.
And also, that will only affect grade 9.
And then grow up. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
So the present grade 10, 11, and 12 students, it doesn't affect.
For next year, that's right.
For
right?
for
'Cause,
September 25,
exactly,
right.
Exactly. So next year's 9th graders will flow up with it, whereas the 10th, 11th,
Right.
and 12th graders.
But I was just talking about the ones that will miss it, so they won't, nothing will change in their curriculum that they will have to, that will affect their graduation, or will it?
Not that will affect their graduation. Their requirements will still remain the same, but they will have, I believe, access to more opportunities. Obviously, the schedule is going to be adjusted, so there is going to be change, but nothing that would negatively impact their graduation. If anything, it would be just more better opportunities.
Right, so whatever points they have towards graduation would still be counted, and
Absolutely.
they would still be able to graduate.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. Any other questions relative to this matter? Mr. Vega, please.
The presentation was awesome. When we talk about tools like Amplify Science, curriculum, Power School Perform, even like tools like Dibbles 8, these are all tools and pieces that of a high degree that are used by a number of schools. Is that the cost behind these things? Is DESE supporting the cost of these? You mentioned it that DESE is offering all sorts of supports. When we talk about important tools like this to evaluate our students' performance, to evaluate the performance of our faculty and staff, to build out curriculum, how much support is DESE giving in these areas?
So they do give a lot of support, and I'm glad you bring this up, because another reason this presentation is important, because as we start to approach budget season, I want to make sure everybody's familiar with the initiatives we have going on in the district that are important, especially as we put that budget in front of you. But it's a range. So, for example, many of our initiatives for our English learners could be funded through our Title III, or we do apply for grants, or I mentioned the teacher diversification grant. That's a DESE grant. However, that being said, I know that the district had a GLEAM grant, but now, grants run out after time, and so then you have to absorb those costs. So it's very fluid. So when we do present the budget coming up, you'll get to see sort of where these expenses are going to be falling for next year. But for this year, it's all of it. It's DESE grants, it's our entitlement grants, it's competitive grants, and then our general funds.
You're going to see there's a theme to the questions here. So you also, at one point you said, as of yesterday, our SPED numbers were blank, right? Is SPED growth predictable?
He's shaking his head no.
Yeah. So when we talk about budgeting, right? And so last night, our colleagues in City Council, really leaning into this conversation. And I think one piece that needs to be brought to the forefront is that there's a different set of variables that go into formulating the school budget than and somebody can challenge me on this. I'm fine to have this conversation or debate, that are unique to any other organization. Corporate, city, It is an entirely different approach because as of yesterday is a frequent term, right? As of yesterday, our SPED numbers were blank, right? Continuing with that, right? Like I noticed in your, when you're talking about full inclusion versus substantially separate versus services only, substantially separate was a pretty big chunk of our SPED. Like early childhood was about 36%, you said, and beyond that's 25. If it's substantially separate, do we have substantial space to put those students
We
in?
sure don't. That
Classroom
I don't
space?
even need to look over because that's a topic of conversation constantly. They're all shaking their heads no.
Okay, and I bring this up again as we head into budget season, okay?
Yeah.
Because when we collaborate with our city council counterparts, it is incredibly important to point out that when you talk about, you're almost talking about a housing question when you talk about these things, and it's unique to schools. So it's really important that as we talk and negotiate, that we understand that we are an entirely different department. It's not just about kids. I love kids. It's not just about learning. I love learning. It's about housing. It's about a constantly shifting population. It's a small city. It is Brockton Mini. And we have two mayors in some ways, and so it's important that we recognize that difference. Last question. You mentioned, I've read into this. As we talk about professional development and the things that we're doing to attract and retain talented teachers, what is going to be done to attract and retain teachers of color? I bring this up because it's not unique to Brockton, but we are an overwhelmingly black and brown city, and yet that's not reflected within our faculty. What is being done to address that?
And that is where actually the teacher diversification grant comes in. But I know that this is a conversation that I had recently with our human resources, because a lot of times those grants, especially when it's a one-year grant, you're applying for it that year, waiting to see if you get it. The funds don't even come until, and then you've got like 3 months to spend it. And so, for example, the teacher diversification grant, we decided that we wanted to go ahead and invest in the initiatives that were already supported by the teacher diversification grant last year, talking about some of the things I talked about with MTEL prep and ensuring that our teachers who are on waivers or have emergency licenses, because we do have diversity in those ranks, but then also, again, looking inside, right? How are we building the pipeline, not just from our paraprofessionals into our teaching core, but also from our students to our teach. How are we getting, a community pipeline as well? So to answer your question, yes, that is incredibly important, and I know that there was a whole grant that was written and all of the different initiatives that were started on that last year, and we have not pulled back on our investment in those. Even though the money may not have dropped this year.
And I know I said last question, but this is the last question. So you've mentioned in a couple of your answers grants. And so obviously we have Ms. Jackson, a fabulous, are we feeling like there's appropriate staffing and support to make sure these grants are going out the door, these proposals, and we're attracting as many dollars as we can?
I mean, I know she does an incredible job, and I know that she is pushing out, and I'm constantly sending, when I get something, I'll send her a grant. I know that I sent her a grant recently about food services, and then we found out that we were required to do a 25% matching, and we were like, okay, we're gonna say no to that grant. I know that she's constantly vetting out grants and then pulling in the right stakeholders in order to, and they come to us in a variety of ways. DESE pushes a lot of them out, but there are grant websites, and I know that she's doing her best to kind of partner with all of the different educators. So she'll reach out when something comes across her desk and say, hey, is this something that we could apply for? What are the different initiatives that this could support that we are already engaging in or that this could enhance? And then I know vice versa, when there are educators who find grants, that they can reach out to central offices and get support in applying for that grant. So I know she's doing an incredible job, and then we also have our finance department who's supporting with DESE grants as well. So I don't know if I answered your question. Your question
No,
was, did
no,
we have
yeah, and-
enough support? I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to give me more support,
I'll just close
take
with this.
it.
It's not a question so much as a statement. I really,
Yeah.
it was something that was said last night several times, and I think, bears repeating. Like, we have a superintendent that can answer questions, right? We have a superintendent that can think long-term, can figure out how to deal with resources that they're given and figure out how to cultivate new resources to bolster what we're doing. I think, as we go into budget, I'm excited about the budget cycle this year and how we can think strategically and meet the needs of our students. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Vega. Any additional questions, Superintendent, at this time? Mr. Vice Chairman?
Mine is more of a, question, comment. I know Dr. LeBois is in here. And I know this is more of a in-depth, deeper dive into SPED. I know we had the mass training there as far as just the key point of a slash and a plus sign affects how many dollars that come into the district. But the only thing with me is that our enrollment decreased in 2023-22, and our SPED numbers increased. But in 24, our enrollment increased, but our SPED decreased. So what is the answer or logic behind that, and how did that transpire for those numbers to fluctuate? Because if you look at the 22-23 numbers, it was a huge jump, very huge jump, and then now those numbers, sometimes you can say you can't predict that, but I'm curious to see the actual data provide that. How did that, what happened there? What was the cause of that?
Absolutely, and we can look into that, get you that information. I know it's a conversation we've had about different programming that changed over time and things like that. And then I think it also points back to the point of it can be unpredictable. But I'm certainly happy to get you a more sort of detailed narrative to go behind those numbers.
Yep, and I know Dr. LeBois is looking forward to making that presentation to the school committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Any other questions on this matter, or can we move on? We'll move on then.
All right, I'll make the next presentation quick, I promise. All right.
I know, right?
So this is the fun stuff. Not that the DESE MOU isn't fun. That's very fun. But just, again, lots of amazing things happening around the district that aren't always captured in the MOU, or that the anecdotes behind the MOU that I just want to acknowledge. And I just want to say that in making these presentations, there were things that I'm like, okay, we'll save that for December 3rd, because there's just so much amazing stuff happening in this district. That it's hard to put it all in presentations, and I knew I had a long other presentation today. But so just for a few highlights, West Middle School's Julie Rossi earned recognition as the recipient of the Massachusetts Association of Science Teachers Joanne Bloom Inspiration in Environmental Education Award. I don't know how they fit that on that little plaque, but Julie was honored for her unique and engaging style of teaching and the investment she's made into so many of her students, from bringing textbooks to students' homes to helping them access meals, gathering donated clothing, and connecting directly with parents about student progress. An avid hiker, Julie incorporates the things that she sees on the trails into her lessons, focusing on rock formations, topography, erosion, tidal pools, and more. And just a huge congratulations and thank you to Julie for all she does for our students. And you got to see the trunk or treat, lots of fun stuff that happened during the autumn and during Halloween. Just one of the many events that our educators hosted around the district this autumn was at the Barrett, which hosted its traditional Halloween celebration, the Harvest Parade, and invited students to dress up as their favorite character from a book or Disney movie, or as their favorite superhero. Staff, on the other hand, dressed as Skittles.
Skittles.
And I know that this was stuff happening all over the district. I got to see pictures of it was the Kennedy that I think we visited, where they did a huge dress up, and the principal and vice principal dressed up as Mario and Luigi, I think, and then they had many little Princess Peaches around them. Just lots of fun stuff that goes on. And now that we have the holidays upon us, I'm sure that a lot more fun stuff is going to be happening. South 8th graders traveled to Boston and back in time earlier this month with a trip to the Titanic exhibition. They invited me to go. I would have loved to have gone. I missed the exhibit. But they were able to get an up-close look at recreations of the Titanic's grand staircase and staterooms. They actually got to see actual artifacts, explore interactive displays, and learn about the famous ocean liner and its passengers. And I know that one of our goals is to, increase the number of field trips that our students get to go on. It's definitely an amazing, unique learning opportunity for them. I want to congratulate the entire BPS music program for the incredible Brockton Band Day performance as part of the Legacy Day last month. Roughly 130 middle school students from across the district joined the BHS marching band on the field for a halftime to showcase their musical skills, which is a testament to the incredible work of a number of teachers and staff members throughout the district who collaborated on this effort. The middle school musicians had a long day at BHS that culminated in a joint performance of Smooth by Santana with the marching band. So unfortunately, earlier this year, we tragically lost a 6th grade member of our school community, George Levi Jaguna, who was most recently a student at North, but who had just completed his time as a student at the Angelo. George Levi was an avid runner, and so the Angelo is going to pay tribute to him by renaming their annual turkey trot this year, and the trophy that goes to the winner for George Levi. So the first George Levi Jaguna Memorial Turkey Trot will take place at the Angelo next Tuesday morning. I also wanted you to join me in congratulating North 8th grader Christabel Ohio, who recently wrote an article for the National Organization for Albinism and the Hypopigmentation about her experience living with albinism for NOAA's Teen Spotlight. And in her article, she wrote about some of the challenges she faces living with albinism, but also emphasized that it doesn't make her any different from her peers and how it makes her beautiful. It was a really, really beautiful piece that was shared with us. I definitely recommend that you read it. Again, our students are just so incredibly diverse, but also talented. And it's so wonderful to celebrate them. Finally, I want to extend a huge thank you to Shoes That Fit and the Lids Foundation for their generous donation of sneakers and winter hats for every single student at the Baker School this morning. Earlier in the school year, students actually took part in a classroom activity where they measured their own feet, and then they charted it. Little did they know that the Baker team was actually collecting their shoe sizes so that Shoes That Fit could get them their own pair of sneakers. They even brought along a very special guest to help distribute the shoes, Patriots quarterback Jacoby Brissett. And none of this would have been possible without the support of Erica Payne, a paraprofessional at the Baker, who brought the Baker and its students to the attention of Shoes That Fit and helped make this happen. It was not just a joyful event, but it was an incredibly organized operation. And Miss Payne said it took quite some magic to be able to, with all the hard work that it took at home, to be able to hide it from her own daughter, who I believe goes to the Baker. But it was really such a fun day, and so many smiles of them opening up you know what it feels like to get a new pair of shoes, and so them opening their boxes and their new pairs of shoes and their Celtics hats. It was really exciting. Also, thank you to school committee member Joyce Asak for her efforts to collect and distribute coats for students in our district who are in need of one this winter. I know this is a yearly tradition, so there are more than 1,500 coats available on a first-come, first-served basis for BPS students. Various sizes are available up to youth 18, and so to get one, families must submit a brief interest form online, and Ms. Asak and the volunteers she's working with will coordinate to ensure students get a coat while supplies last. So please follow the link, the bit.ly link, which with BPS Coats for Kids, or scan the QR code on the screen to complete a form. And then finally, coming up this weekend, BPS and our community partners will be hosting a free multilingual resource fair at the Arnone, which is open to students of all grades. The fair will take place Saturday, November 23rd from 11 to 1. Well, the Arnone, we're right here right now. And will feature opportunities for families to connect with a wide range of community and BPS resources, including many of our PACs and district offices like the Office of Extraordinary Learning, Coordinated Family and Community Engagement, the Adult Learning Center, community schools, and more. There will will also be organizations from the healthcare sector, support for those experiencing homelessness, representatives from the Brockton Public Library, and others. Translation services will also be available for those who need them, and the event will also feature fun games and activities for kids and door prizes that you're eligible to win just by showing up. And there is also a dance party that will kick off at 12:30 that day. And that brings me to the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. Any questions relative to the superintendent's presentation? Seeing none, we're going to move on. I'm sorry, did you have one?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Amazing. So it's wonderful to see everything that's going on at our schools. Just an update, we are maxed out on the coats. So we're actually working on those. I was going to announce it a little later. We've been, I started Monday doing, filling the coat request. So I'll give an update at the end of the meeting, but so.
So never mind, that was a thank you for all of the amazing codes.
I mean, honestly, if we have a few here and there left over, I'll do the best that I can, but that's not gonna, the QR code's not gonna work anymore. We actually maxed out in one night, so.
That's amazing.
It was great.
That's
So we
awesome.
do have a need, so there's a need out there for the coats. So if anyone wants to help out, reach out to the schools directly. If you wanna purchase maybe a new coat for some of their students, especially the high school. The high school is the tough one with the older kids. So, but I'll give an update later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next update is the MSBA update. Celia Canavan, my public policy / government affairs person, is the point person working with MSBA, and Allison Sullivan, the vice chair, myself, and Dr. Tahi Liani, Ken Thompson on the school side, Jim Plouffe on the city side, Troy Clarkson on the city side. We worked together to interview the OPM. So I asked Celia for an update. I'm just going to read it because she's very thorough. Good evening, members of the committee. I am pleased to provide a report of the ongoing work related to the MSBA Brockton High School project. As of today, November 19th, 2024, we've completed the preliminary selection process for the owner's project manager, OPM. We received 7 submissions from different OPM firms, which were then ranked and evaluated by the OPM selection committee, which was the committee I just articulated who was on that. Committee then shortlisted 3 candidates who were invited to interview with membership of the selection committee. The 3 interview sessions were held consecutively on October 29, 2024 in the GAR room at City Hall. At that time, the committee also conducted reference checks in each of the shortlisted firms. The shortlisted firms were then scored by the selection committee based on their interviews and reference checks, and a final score was calculated. The selection committee also on this, just point of reference, was Mike Morris. He was a non-voting member, and he's the procurement officer. Selection committee proceeded to preliminary negotiations with the top-ranked shortlisted firm. An agreement was reached, and the selected firm has executed their side of the contract. As per the guidelines set by the MSBA, the city and school district has not executed the contract, as the MSBA first needs to be in receipt of the OPM selection narrative and receive a presentation from the selected firm in the city before they approve the selection. The finished OPM selection narrative was submitted to the MSB on November 6th, 2024. The MSB returned the narrative with 2 minor revisions on November 12th, 2024, and the city was able to complete the necessary revisions before the deadline. The MSBA will be scheduling the final presentation and confirming next steps with the selection committee, but it is believed that the presentation to the MSBA will be on December 2nd, 2024. Once the city has completed this presentation and received MSBA approval, we will provide the name, details of the contract, and further information as updated to this body. The city is working to continue to prepare for this project, including getting registered by MSBA pro-pay training, and looks forward to providing another update upon the completion of the OPM selection process. So that's where we are right now on the due diligence process for the feasibility study. Mr. Vice Chairman, anything else, or Superintendent? You were both on the committee. Okay. Any questions on that? And we thank Ms. Canavan for that. Last agenda item under Section 3, Report of Superintendent, is items to refer to subcommittee. Are there any matters to go to subcommittee that we're aware of tonight? Mr. Vice Chairman?
December 3rd, we'll do another finance subcommittee where Open Architects and Trish will be available. And then I tentatively would like December 10th as a facilities subcommittee. There's some issues that we need to wrap up by the end of the year, working with Attorney Mello as well, who will be present during that meeting.
especially just for the public again, that December 3 is going to be here again at the Arnone School?
December 3rd will be here at the Arnone, and then the 10th will be at the, we're working on the Little
Okay,
Theater.
but
so they
December
have a
3rd
production.
here at 5:30 again? 5:30
Yes,
start?
correct,
Okay,
5:30.
great. Any other matters to go to subcommittee that we're aware of? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Superintendent. Agenda 4 is a consent agenda. We have quite a few. It's A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. What is the will of the committee? Any members? Mr. Sullivan, please.
B, please.
B as in boy will be removed. Any other matters to be removed? Mr. Vice Chairman?
I was going to remove B as well, and then I will remove F, 7A, and 7B.
There's no 7 on there.
Oh, 7A and 7B
Oh,
under
F.
under F.
Under F.
Okay. And all the other matters would be collectively? C,
Yes.
D, E? Okay. What is the will of the committee relative to A, C, D, E, and then under F, it would be C, D, E, and then under G? What is the will of the committee relative to those? Can we take those collectively? Okay, so motion on the floor, is there a second? Second. Motion was made by Mr. Vega, was properly seconded by Ms. Oliver. Before we take the vote, let me just say A is the approval of October 15, 2024 bid review subcommittee meeting minutes. C is the approval of October 2nd, 2024 security, safety, transportation meeting minutes. D is the approval of the Greater Brockton Minority Business Association scholarship. E is the approval of 2024-2025 home education request. Under F, we are looking at FY 2025 FC 794 Hate Crime Prevention Grant, Mass DESI, in the amount of $50,000. Next matter under F is FY 2023 Massachusetts After School Partnership MAP in the amount of $34,150. And then the last matter under F would be FY I'm sorry, those are all 2025. I'm sorry, my eyes are terrible. FY 2025 Workplace Safety Grants, the amount of $13,200. And then finally, G is the acceptance of human resources notifications, appointments certified, appointments non-certified, personal actions, which is leaves of absence, resignations, and retirements. We have a motion that's properly seconded. All in favor of those matters, kindly raise your hand. If you oppose, raise your hand. They pass unanimously. Mr. Sullivan, we'll go to B right now.
Okay, B was some policies that were changed at the October 15th meeting, and our policies do reflect that we need to give a 48-hour notice to the public in order to change something, and we voted on these that night. So that's actually a violation, I believe, of the open meeting law. And if you are changing a policy, I believe the policy adoption process was also not followed, because if a policy is adopted, we have a policy that says that it has to have 3 readings. So
So we do have our legislative counsel here, Attorney Spotterford, and Vice Chairman, before we have from Sarah.
I was going to pull out B to take that, but before Attorney Spatterford speaks, so policy BD states that the 3 steps can be achieved in 1 open meeting if the school committee so desires. All members got the policy information printed before the subcommittee on 10/15, and the meeting was posted for the public's information, which satisfied number 1. All members were present on 10/15. The meeting was reviewed and discussed and voted and approved. The policy meeting was open to the public and viewable online, which satisfies number 2. Putting it on this agenda is number 3, where we're going to pull it out and discuss it and take a final vote. So it was met.
Thank you, Vice
And
Chairman.
Council's here.
Attorney Spotterford. Good evening, Sarah. Hi there.
I do think we addressed this at maybe last meeting or the meeting before. We mentioned that those policies would need to come back onto another school committee agenda to accomplish that final reading. So that was the agenda for today. I don't know that there was any open meeting law violation. The agenda was properly posted 48 hours before that prior school committee meeting. And I believe the item was added as part of new business. So the policies themselves, to Ms. Sullivan's point, were not mentioned on the school committee agenda, but they were mentioned on the policy subcommittee agenda, which is a committee of the whole. So to the vice chair's point, I do think if the committee adopts them tonight, this would satisfy the three prongs of the policy of the school committee to adopt a new policy, or revised policy in this case.
Mrs. Sullivan, I'm sorry.
Policies were not given to the members ahead of time. They were run off while we were sitting there. We never got a chance to even read them before we had to reflect on them. So that is not okay, okay? I do not remember 3 readings. I don't agree with the 3 reading thing. We cannot vote on them for 48 hours after they're changed. So all this is in our policy manual, so I disagree.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
That's why it's posted on here for us to discuss it, to take a final vote.
The policies
On
were
this
never
night.
given to us, Mr. Rodriguez. They were being run off while we were sitting here,
The
which is
policy-
unacceptable.
The policy
We're
was
supposed to be
delivered
given to them in the Friday packet, okay?
They were delivered.
No, they weren't. We got them at the meeting.
I'm not going to argue, so the item
I'm not
is
going to argue
placed.
with you either, but
Decorum, please. Mrs. Sullivan, you have the floor. Anything else?
they were being run off while we were sitting there. It's the first time we ever saw them, or what policies they even were, okay? Not acceptable.
Any other committee members have any questions about B? Attorney Spotify, I just had a question. That night, I made a motion relative to the 72 hours, and I still have a problem with 70. I do have a problem because, again, the schools are under the carrying capacity of the school district, but they're city assets. And I talked about if the governor shows up or Congressman Lynn shows up. And I mentioned if Moses Rodriguez, who's a veteran, showed up at the veterans. And again, I know it can be waived by the doctor or myself, but I guess I'm just trying to find out if there's any past practice in your experience representing many municipalities where an effective vote is taking which actually could have a detrimental impact on other fellow elected officials, either local or state, even federal, I guess. Have you ever seen that before?
Sure. And I did watch the meeting last night and heard some of the concerns that were voiced. And I do think the policy requiring some notice, and I apologize, I don't have a copy in front of me, but I believe it was about wanting to schedule a visit to the school, not attend a public event or be invited, right? And I think that was the difference of what was perhaps missed in the review from the city council. And I have seen policies that require members of the public, including elected officials, to schedule things in advance because the operations of the schools are multifaceted and busy, and administrators have a lot on their plates, and so it's a courtesy to schedule those things in advance, much like the school committee is supposed to, and we added that timeline for the school committee as part of the policy as well. So I have seen it. I don't know that I've seen a direct example of 72 hours versus any other type of timeline, but I also haven't looked for it necessarily, Mayor, so I can't say that with fidelity that it doesn't exist in some school committee policy that I represent. I don't recall making that change affirmatively in the last couple of years. But I did make the changes, to your point, Mayor, that you requested and the body approved during our policy subcommittee meeting. Those changes are reflected in the documents that I believe were included with the agenda for today. But to your point, I'm not entirely sure. I'm happy to look in to see if other communities have that rule.
Thank you. I guess my other question was, do you think that from a lawyer standpoint, we need to further define that? Because I think there's a misnomer out there, and you just clarified it, that it's if you want to schedule a tour or a visit, it's not if there's an event per se, right? Do you think that the verbiage has to be modified or clarified in any way before we take a final vote? Because as we know historically, when policies are passed, they stay on the books pretty much in perpetuity. So do you have any thoughts that we should consider that, or?
It's in the section on visits to the school, I believe, but I think if there is confusion, we can certainly clarify that this doesn't apply to events that are open to the public or invitations that are extended to others. it's really, and I think that was part of the concern about the background check requirements as well that were discussed last night. So certainly, I think obviously there has been a misinterpretation of it. So it probably does warrant some review, and we can certainly make an adjustment to add that disclaimer that for school committee members as well, of course, right? This doesn't include situations where an event is open to the public or a school committee meeting, I know was mentioned as an example last night. It's really situations where anyone, school committee members or other elected officials, are seeking to visit a school during school hours when students are there, right? And we have this obligation to make sure that the person is appropriately background checked and that the school can accommodate that request to bring them in. So certainly I think perhaps it does warrant a little refining in our language.
That could happen tonight, right? An amendment can be
Yes.
made on the floor tonight, just to clarify it before we take a final vote.
Yes, and I do think that might trigger the need to have it read again, because that would be a further revision to the policy. So under our school committee policy revision policy, it does require those 3 reviews of any potential revision. So I do think that might trigger the need to at least put it on one more agenda. The theory behind the policy is that it allows members of the community administration to see things before they go into effect, to bring forward any concerns they might have. So out of fidelity to that policy, I do think we probably, if we're going to make a substantial change or clarification, we would want to make that. We can certainly do that tonight and then just put it on the next agenda for final adoption.
Yeah, I mean, I would support that, members of the committee. I mean, between now and our next meeting, it's not going to be any harm. I mean, next week's a short week with Thanksgiving. My thought would be clarify it, so from a legalese standpoint, there's no questions at all. This is what it is, this is what the intent is, this is the purpose, and any other things are outside of that realm. Mr. Vice Chair.
The policy clearly states visit, not participate in any assembly.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, you're
anything
talking to a
that.
lawyer, Tony. I would
It
clarify.
says visit.
I would
Visit is
clarify
me
it.
going somewhere, so I'm not going to sit here and vet out a policy that all of the members already took a vote on. They had ample time from October 15th until now to vet that, or bring it to my attention, or bring it to your attention, or bring it to legal counsel's attention to make sure if there's any modifications or questions on there. So this is the 3rd reading of those policies, and that policy was basically crafted based upon public comment of certain individuals visiting our schools. As we know, as school committee members, we just don't walk into any schools, and we have to go through the superintendent. So no other elected official can just show up and knock on the door and thinking they can freelance or do an audit, as they stated. If you can watch the city council audit.
Governor can.
Who?
The governor.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not talking about the governor here.
yeah.
We're talking about city of Brockton.
Okay.
We're keeping it right in the city of Brockton. I'm not going to say state delegation or federal or the president. I'm talking about elected officials within our confinement of walking into any school. Just because you're an elected official doesn't mean you have this free pass to do as you please. So I can't walk into the transportation department and do an audit. I can't go in there and question an employee. I can't walk into the high school without the superintendent or the principal knowing, for that matter. So, and no other elected official should have that opportunity. And due diligence is that they're running a school building in 72 hours. There's ample time to schedule to make sure that they have time to go and visit. So I stand by that 72 hours.
I don't have a problem with the time.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the actual, I just think it needs to be clarified, but we can agree to disagree. Ms. Azak?
Thank you. So, for a lot of the people that are watching and some of the new members, this is not a brand-new policy. This goes back to the Superintendent Kathy Smith and her administration. So originally, when this policy came up, we would have had to request from the superintendent to go visit the schools, wait for approval, then we can go to the schools, and that's a school committee. So that was years ago. This has been an ongoing policy that we've had, so it's not brand new. When a lot of things were happening at the high school, we did have elected officials wandering the halls unaccompanied, without query checks. So, you know, we have Principal McCaskill, who's running a building, has meetings. Same with any other principal. It's just common courtesy. I can't show up to the mayor's office and say, I want to have a meeting with you, I want a tour. Same with the superintendent. It's just common courtesy. We have to request to go to the schools or visit any of our buildings. We do it ahead of time. It's just they're running a school. They can't just drop everything and escort us. So as far as the 72 hours, I mean, again, it could be up to 72 hours. It depends on what's going on at the school, whether we have testing, you know, how the principal schedules are, whether it's the superintendent. We just have to work with their schedules because we're asking for a tour. As far as attending things, we can always attend. The whole thing last night with the Corey, I think I think a lot of them were reading too much into it. It's if you're gonna walk around the school unattended. But if you're walking around with a principal or a staff member, you're fine. We're invited to a lot of events. We attend things. We don't, you know, this whole 72 hours, it's to tour the school, to get a one-on-one, to be able to tour the schools or have a one-on-one with the principal or a staff member. Just common courtesy, give them the time.
Thanks, Ms. Izek.
But it's been in effect for many years. This is not brand new.
No, my question, I have a
Yeah,
question.
the 72
to
hours
clarify.
is
I'm not
just-
even talking about the time,
Yeah,
I'm talking
maybe-
about the clarifier.
Excuse me,
Nope,
yeah.
she has the floor,
Yeah,
please.
so it's, maybe if we put up to 72 hours, again, it depends on testing, it depends on what's going on at the school, and it should be up to the discretion of the principal or the superintendent, whether, you know, we can, it's a little disruptive to have us go in there and just walk around unexpectedly, you know, just show up. So we can't do that in anyone's normal workday, so I can't just show up to someone's business and just ask for a tour. So a little bit of notice, but up to 72. If I called Principal McCaskill right now, he'd probably say, come on in tomorrow morning and
Yes,
take a
he
tour.
would, he would.
But it's leave it up to the discretion of the school and the superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. Izek.
Thank you.
Before I go back to the vice chair, you both had your hands. I'll come back to you afterwards, but I gotta go to New.
I'll keep it brief. I just wanted to say that as a relatively new member of the committee, you know, even in my own ward, in Ward 1, when I visit Principal Shaw Lyons or when I visit Principal Campbell, I'm usually sending them an email a week in advance because, as it's already been said, the principal of the school, if I'm taking time with the principal, that means the principal isn't taking time with something else. So to do that unexpectedly is not just unprofessional, it's the detriment to the school. Furthermore, anytime I've secured that time with the principal, I let the superintendent know that I'm going to be making that visit. Because in the end, even me as a school committee member, if the superintendent, for whatever reason she has, doesn't think it's going to be an appropriate time, I'm going to back down from the visit. Having said all of that, honestly, last night what was clear to me is that there was some misinterpretation of the policy by some of our colleagues in City Council. I don't see the harm in tightening the language as long as the policy is going to be put down, you know, or implemented, I should say, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vega. Mr. Gomes first.
I'm going to share a quick story. It actually happened here at Arnone. When I first joined the committee, unaware of these policies, I actually came here to visit the school. And, you know, I came in. I didn't even use my ID. I rang the doorbell and everything. They let me in. I was like, I'd love to see the principal. Took me and everything. I was like, I want to tour the school. She turned me around. Go, let's set up a time. And you can tell she was busy. She was in meetings in and out. And I just showed up. We didn't have a, you know, permanent or interim superintendent at the time. And I was like, let me just go and see what's going on. And I came here. She took the time, met with me. She was in meetings, the principal. And then she was like, we're going to have to schedule this. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. It's like me, if I'm doing my full-time job and someone just comes in, I could have reports, I have things that I have to respond to, especially if I have people working under me, there's a lot of responsibility. And sometimes I need to have things scheduled. I'm fine with the language, and as Jorge just pointed out, I think there was a misunderstanding. It does say visit, and I don't personally, I would not confuse visit with invitation. If I were to get an invitation, and it would probably come with expectation, I don't have to notify you that I'm coming. You invited me. Whether it's the superintendent or the principal of a school, if they, you know, for the principal to run the school and they see fit that I need these individuals to come in, then so be it. And then the idea of a query check should already be in your file, that we don't have to do that again. You know, so I think the language is fine. It's just you know, the point of view of understanding what's happening, the scenario. You know, if you invited me, why would I have to even think about, oh, I gotta give you a notice? It makes sense, right? Or if there was a graduation going on, like the graduation that happened, we were all invited via email. I didn't have to worry about, no, I gotta go do a query check, or I gotta notify the superintendent I received the invitation from you. However, it does say if you plan on visiting a school and so on and so forth, of course I'm gonna let you know. Even if there was no policy, I didn't do that, by the way, but that was a mistake on my part. Of course I'm gonna let you know. If I'm coming to your house, I gotta make sure you're home and you're available to take me in. Put into perspective. So I think it's fine the way it is, having everything in our files, and if I'm visiting you, I should at least give you the decency of notifying you that I would love to visit the school. It's up to 72 hours, or even if you don't give that 72-hour notice, you can always reach out to the superintendent, the mayor, and be like, I need to visit the school. These are the reasons. Can you just clarify this or clear it for me? I don't think they would say no unless what business you're gonna run at the schools. But I don't think they would say no to a request like that, even if it's like 24-hour notice. But I think it's fine the way it is. And I feel like personally I understand, and we can make the clear distinction between being invited and deciding to visit a school on our own. So,
Thank you, School.
Thank you.
Any other new ones? I'll go to the Vice Chair, followed by Mrs. Sullivan, followed by Joyce, please.
Point an example. Last night, Ward 5 Councilor was invited to attend with members of the committee to the Baker School for the event this year. That wasn't a 72-hour notice. There wasn't no gripe that was made by the councilor. So, I mean, invitation is an invitation, but I don't think vetting this out, as we've already had a lengthy discussion on it. Members had more than 72 hours to actually read this policy, and if there was a concern, I haven't gotten an email or a phone call relative to this policy from any of these members, besides tonight, bringing up that specific policy in 3 readings where, you heard our counsel that, it's right here, it's in our policy. So I didn't write this policy. This was already something that was already here way before any of us have joined here. So we're having a healthy conversation. So I'll yield, and hopefully we can take a vote and make sure that we approve these tonight, and this is our 3rd reading.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Mrs. Sullivan, followed by Ms. Azak, please.
Okay, the policy already said that you have to notify. So take that out of the equation. You would never just show up at our school. You would, of course, notify.
He did.
Of course you would. But that isn't even proper. It's not even using your manners if you just show up at a school and say, oh, I'm here, I'm a school committee member, I can come in. No. The policy already said you have to notify the superintendent and the principal. You're adding that a school committee member, for the public to know, has to give a 24-hour notice. And any other elected officials have to give a 72-hour notice before they come to a school. Absurd. Okay? This policy has always worked the way it was. You have to notify the superintendent and the principal before you can go to a school. I was brought up right, so I know that that's what you do. You follow the policy.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan.
I
I'm
wasn't done,
sorry,
and
I'm
I did
sorry.
contact legal counsel the day after the meeting, and Sarah can attest to that. I do not agree with the policy. I cannot agree. I don't have to agree with everybody, okay? And I do not agree that there was 3 readings, because the only reason why it is on here the 3rd time is because I contacted Sarah that there was a problem. There's nowhere that says I need to contact you, Mr. Rodriguez. You are not the chair. The mayor is.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. Thank you, Ms. Vice Chair. Ms. Azak.
Okay, well, my questioning just took a turn from what I was going to comment. So one, the end of that sentence says, arrangements have been made unless waived by the superintendent or the chair. So if the chair is, say we have someone from,
I don't think it says chair, it says mayor, right?
and/or chair.
Yeah, which is vis-a-vis the mayor, okay.
Yeah, and/or chair. So if we did have congressmen or anyone,
Yep.
things like that are a little different. But I don't want to put our principal on the spot, but people were showing up to the high school and just wandering unattended. But then again, they were, and that's why we have a policy, and everyone's aware of it now. But the principal took time out of his day and, was taking tours, touring them around actually, no. A few of them were just wandering. So things happen. People weren't aware of a policy. People weren't aware that you need a query check in order to be wandering, even if you're an elected official. If our parents and our guardians need to do a query check to work a book fair, you need to have a query check if you're going to walk around the schools alone. All due respect, our legal bills are high. We should not be calling our attorneys for basic questioning. Mr. Rodriguez is the chair of that subcommittee. And then we have the chair of the school committee. So we can't be calling our attorneys. And it does say here in our policy, the process when we have things.
The chair. It's supposed to be run through the chair before anybody calls legal
Yeah,
counsel.
so we can't be calling our attorneys, racking up legal bills for just basic answers that we can probably figure out on our own. It is in our policy. There is a process as to, before you call the attorney, this is what we need to follow. Again, people were wandering. Now people are aware of our policy. Even some of our school committee members are aware of a policy we've had for many years. For many years. Things happen, but unless people bring it to your attention, you're not going to know. So, again, it's very disruptive when people just show up, us including. So I just, I forgot what I was going to say originally, but it does say on here, as far as if we have congressmen or senators or anyone, they just want to stop by and visit any of our schools that day, the superintendent and the mayor, under your discretion, they're not going to be walking around alone. They're going to be with one or both of you. So it does say either or can waive that. So the 72 hours, maybe up to 72 hours, but you got to give the principals some time to see if they can fit you into their schedules and not feel the pressure to have to rearrange their
If we
schedules.
put up to, though, just for point of information, that would be a modification, so.
Okay. I'm fine with the 72
yeah.
hours. It's really up to the discretion of the principals.
Correct.
If they have it in their schedule, I know again, if I was to reach out to my schools, I have a great relationship. They'd probably tell me, come on in. I got some time. Or, you know what, Joyce, we're doing testing. We got a lot going on. Give me a couple of days and we'll meet. No problem. And that's just common courtesy.
Common
So
courtesy.
it's called communication. We just have to communicate with our administrators. That's all. But
Thank you,
that's
Ms.
my own-
Azak.
Thank you.
Mr. Gomes, again, please.
I'd like to make a motion to accept agenda item B, approval of October 15, 2024 policy subcommittee meeting minutes, including approval of the revised policy. Do I have to say all of them?
We can waive the reading if you want.
Waive the
We can read them
reading.
all, though. Just hold the motion 1 second. Are we voting on it? We're voting on it.
We already voted on these, so we can't take them collectively if we're voting again. We need to take them individually and vote again, because they were voted before the 48 hours.
Attorney Spotterford, I'm sorry. Attorney Spotterford, before you answer that question, I just had another question. What would be the harm in defining visit? Not specifically in that policy, but like in an index, because your interpretation of visit could be different than mine, right? But if it's notwithstanding the aforementioned and define it, excluding community events or invitations, but if it's not actually in that policy, isn't there a way to bake that as an index or something to define it? Because that way it's a catch-all.
Sure. Yeah, no, we
Okay.
can absolutely look at some revision to the policy to add a glossary or index or
Glossary index
something
or
of those
whatever, just
ideas.
because that way there is no, I understand what a visit is, and Tony and I would agree what a visit is, but again, unless it's spelled out from a legalese, it's It's up
Yeah,
to
there could be a
interpretation.
gray area.
Yeah,
And I
it could
think,
be.
yeah, no, I think the committee's made it clear what you all believe a visit is, which is how we'll interpret the policy. But we could, for future iterations of the committee, make sure that we all, that we enshrine your definition in some way. So I can look at a way to do that and perhaps go through and see if there's other terms that would be useful to add. I'll work with Donna McDale on that. And we can bring that before the next policy committee meeting. I think the question I was brought up
Yep,
to
I'm
ask
sorry.
was
Yep, go
about
ahead.
whether you can vote on the policies tonight. Yes, it's on the agenda to vote on the policies tonight. If any member would like you do a consent agenda, if you'd like to take the items individually, you can certainly request that they be taken individually.
Thank you, Attorney
Sure.
Spotterford. You still have the floor, Mr. Gomes.
Motion
Yeah, but do you want to take it collectively, individually?
collectively,
Collectively as amended.
as amended,
Yeah.
yes.
Second.
Okay, so that's just for the public and for minutes. So motion made to take B collectively as amended, right? The previous amendments we made that are reflected in what's before us tonight, and it was made by Mr. Gomes, properly seconded by Ms. Oliver. Any questions on that? Legal counsel will come up with a glossary and index that will capture any type of potential disparities or clarification points, but there is a matter. So I will call the roll right now. Did you have a question on the motion?
Yes.
Okay, on the motion.
Okay. Because I voted different on all these policies. Some of them I voted yes, some of them I voted no. So what does that mean if we take them collectively?
I can amend the motion
We'll
if
take
you'd like.
If you want to amend it to take them individually, you
Yeah.
can take them individually.
I'll amend the motion to take these items individually. We can start with the BDE.
Ms. Oliver, can you withdraw? Okay, so now there's a motion to take them individually,
Yes.
and is that a second?
That's second.
Okay, so first matter before us is B, D, E.
Second.
There's a motion made by you, probably second by Ms. Oliver.
What was the motion?
To
approve.
accept and approve BDE policy as amended.
Okay, that's what's before us. All in favor, kindly raise your hand.
Oh, can we take a roll call on them? Because,
You can take a roll call if you choose. Okay, Mrs. Sullivan?
no.
Okay, Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
No.
I'm a yes. Now the other matter, next matter.
Motion to take, to approve and accept policy BE as amended.
Be as amended. Is there a
Second.
Second, again, Mr. Gomes, Ms. Oliver. Roll call, Mr. Sullivan?
No.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
No.
I'm a yes on that. Next matter, please.
Motion to approve and accept policy BEDB as amended.
Second.
Second was made by Ms. Oliver, properly seconded. It was made by Mr. Gomes. Matter before us now, Ms. Sullivan, I'm sorry. Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
No.
I'm a yes as well. We'll keep going, please.
Motion to approve and accept and approve policy BEDBE as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Gomes, probably seconded by Ms. Oliver. I'll read the roll. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Next matter,
Motion
please.
to accept and approve policy BEDC as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Gomes, probably seconded by Ms. Oliver. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Vega?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Gomes? Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Next
Motion
matter.
to accept and approve policy BHC as amended.
Second.
Motion made was properly seconded by Ms. Oliver, made by Mr. Gomes. Mr. Sullivan?
No.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Gomes? Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
No.
I'm a no on that one as well.
Motion-
JQ, please.
Motion to accept and approve policy JQ as amended.
Yes.
Made by Mr. Gomes,
I'll
probably
be
seconded.
second.
Ms. Oliver. We'll do this quicker, huh? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well.
Motion to accept and approve policy KF as amended.
Motion made.
Second.
It was properly seconded, same parties. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Next
Motion
matter.
to accept and approve policy KFR as amended.
Second.
KFR was made by Mr. Gomes, probably second by Ms. Oliver. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
No.
I'm a yes. Passes. That matter has been approved. B has been ratified. We'll go on now to F,
I
Vice
feel
Chair. You
comfortable
had
with
two
it.
matters,
I'm not
7A,
approving
7B, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first matter is 7A. I know Linda Cahill can't be here, so I had a few questions relative to this grant. And Superintendent, if you can answer some of this, if not, but it says that the care managers, there's numerous positions, but I'm just trying to rationalize, is this a new position, and how is the salary calculated for this position? And also, how is this going to reflect our budget moving forward, up into including a regional consultant of 143? How is that broken down? And then the administrative assistant. So basically, are these all new positions that are being created? And then also, I'm just assuming our collective bargaining, the unions involved in this, do they know about this? I mean, how does this kind of roll out with this grant? I know I've requested that when we get these grants, I would like the applicants that actually submitted these grants to come in and give a presentation to the committee, so we have those. If we have any questions of the breakdown, I know it's broken down a lot more than in the past, but I think it could be a little bit more broken down. It's supplies and equipment at $25,000. So how did we come up to that $25,000? And then the other one is like policy updates, $12,000. So how is the cost of updating the policy? How do they come up with those figures?
So thank you for asking. And unfortunately, Ms. Cahill, or Dr. Cahill was unable to attend tonight. And while I did get some additional information, I don't feel like I have the answers to all of your questions. So would it be possible to postpone or table, delay?
I don't want to table it.
No, postpone.
Postpone it.
So we'll postpone let me read this right. FY25 Comprehensive School Health Services Grant in the amount of $350,000. We'll put that to the next agenda.
Next regular meeting,
Next meeting, which is the 3rd.
and that's a form of a motion.
Motion.
Is there a second? All in favor of that, kindly raise your hand. All opposed? It carries. Postpone to the next meeting.
Yep. And then the other one, 7B, is relatively to the same. Similar questions. When I look at, for example, so we look at additionally $17,000 will be used to cover transportation costs for staff attending professional development opportunities. How did we come up to that number?
Transportation for staff or for English learner students experiencing?
Additionally, all it says is for staff. $17,000 will be used to cover transportation costs for staff attending professional development opportunities, ensuring that they are equipped with the high-quality instruction for newcomers.
Oh, sorry, is that in the book? Because,
I'm
yes, so I
sorry.
have
Yeah,
different information.
And then that'd be 7B, so it'd be
Sorry.
7B.
7B, right, thank you. Yes, because actually that 17,000, I did receive clarification. That was supposed to be for 17,000 for transportation for EL students experiencing homelessness to attend academy programs and participation in family engagement activities and conferences. So I do have additional information about the, that was sent to me by Kelly Jones for this particular grant. So I think I may be able to, again, she's receiving the NPD award, and so she wasn't able to be here, but she did send me information, so I may be able to answer more of your questions. So just to give you some information, it's an entitlement grant, and it was allocated actually based on the number of English learners who who are also identified as experiencing homelessness. And it's supposed to fund essential items such as personal care, transportation, interpretation, translation for students and their families to participate in our programs here in the Brockton Public Schools. The grant is also going to fund 4 family literacy nights to be held in each of our zones during the spring of 2025. So the additional information, so the budget breakdown, so there's, so this isn't in here, so the $10,800 is going to be compensation for 6 of our multilingual staff supporting those 5 family engagement events, so that would be like the additional hourly pay. And that same kind of hourly pay or overtime for 2 supervisors overseeing the design and implementation of the engagement events themselves. And then translation services to enhance the accessibility for the multilingual families in the amount of $2,000. So that all adds up to the $10,800. Then there's contracted services of $10,000, and that is for the Lion Bridge to provide the real-time translation services during those events. And just in general to improve the engagement with students and families, so in the amount of $10,000. Then there's $37,000 that is for supplies and materials, and that's the personal care items that we're providing in the amount of $18,000. The supplies for the family engagement events in the amount of $4,000, and items necessary for the school participation via an MOU with Walmart for $15,000. And then the other expenses of the $17,000 are the transportations actually for the students themselves. Yes.
So basically that 17 was just a quick typo that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what kind of triggered me. I'm just like, how are we using
right.
17,000? How do we calculate that figure? How many staff members? Like, I mean, I'm assuming that they're using their personal vehicles. So is that a mileage calculation? How did we, so that's what kind of like threw some red flags. That's huge money because a huge portion of that's used for transportation.
Right.
So, all right, so that kind of...
I didn't ask specifically about that as the typo, but that's sort of what I'm seeing here as I'm looking at the additional breakdown that Kelly sent.
Okay. Is this time sensitive with this grant? Can we put, I would like if she can kind of attend and we can update this and break it down a little bit better so the members can...
Absolutely, I think we can wait.
All right, so I'll motion to table 7B as well. Oh, postpone, sorry.
Motion on the floor, on the motion before it's seconded?
No, we can go ahead.
Is there a second, please? Second. Motion was made, Vice Chair was properly seconded by Ms.
Oliver.
All in favor of postponing to the next regular meeting, please raise your hand. If you oppose, raise your hand. It passes unanimous. That concludes consent agenda. Now we go into 5, which is unfinished business. There's 2 matters there tonight. Discussion and potential vote to request an audit from the Massachusetts State Auditor, and discussion and potential vote regarding the Finance Subcommittee meeting dated October 29, 2024. Vice Chairman, please.
Thank you. Just, relative to what we've been dealing with financially, policies, oversight, lack of an extra eye from this governing body, and information that I have personally, not by knowledge, but in black and white, which is very, very concerning. I think it's suited that that we request that the state auditor be requested to come in and look at the top to bottom functions of the BPS. I'll read this, and this is also a request on the city side as well. And then I hope this body supports this, and then I also hope that our counterparts on the city council as well. I've talked to a couple of members that do support it, and hopefully that moves forward, because it's not just the schools, it's every city department that needs to get a closer eye. And we know we've been being blamed for a lot of the financial constraints in the city, which I totally disagree with. It's not just the Brockton Public Schools. So I'll read this into record. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 11, Section 12, the school committee hereby votes to authorize the Office of the State Auditor to conduct an audit of the accounts, programs, activities, and other public functions of the City of Brockton School Department and request that the City Council and the Mayor to support this request via order of the City Council signed by the Mayor in the appropriation of sufficient funding. Also requesting that the Brockton City Council authorize the state auditor to conduct an audit of all city departments, including boards and commissions, accounts, programs, activities, and public functions of the city of Brockton.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Just point of information, as I said before, 15 months ago, when deficit came to light, I reached out to 4 people. I reached out to the Lieutenant Governor, Inspector General, the DESI Commissioner at the time, and then I spoke to Diana DeZoglia, the State Auditor, and I asked her to come in. The process was explained to me that the Mayor can invite the State Auditor to come in. There's different variables of audits. One is a performance audit, but the only way that triggers the auditor for the Commonwealth to come into a municipality is a formal vote by the City Council. So what I had heard 14 months ago, I heard again last week. Mayor, you can put a letter before, but it's not going to be passed. So, you know, my concern is that we've had a black eye for many things. We paid a heck of a lot of money for an audit. If we hear that it's going to pass, I have no problem putting a letter in. No problem whatsoever. But I have to have some assurances that it will. We could take a vote as a school committee, and Attorney Spotterford, you can opine on it. But again, it isn't the mayor that brings her in. I can invite her, and I already have, and I'll continue to do so, but it's the 11 members of the City Council. So, Attorney Spotterford, is there anything that I missed on that? And then we'll go right back to the Vice Chair.
This was a lengthy conversation I did have with staff from Open Architects, who was also the city CFO for the city of Springfield for many years. I trust his numbers. I question him a lot and have a lot of conversation in meetings, but I did, seek guidance of, how does this process work and how can we get this in? One governing body has to take a formal vote. It will be crazy for any governing body not to support this. If any governing body does not support this measure, what are you hiding? A lot of members have been elected in the city for a very, very, very long time. And I think the public, the residents of the city, needs to know exactly how our city is actually functioning and how our funds are being spent. And there's a variety of issues. And there's stuff that I believe that should have been on the city side investigation relative to the deficit that wasn't. There are individuals' names that should have been on there, which is in black and white, that is documented, which is very concerning. And I think that it needs intervention from the state auditor or any governing agency or even the federal governing agencies to step in at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Just point of information as well, the auditor does have a Brockton office. She's right on Belmont Street in the fairgrounds. Before I come to any other members, Attorney Spotterford, can you just clarify this? Because again, I concur with this. I tried to do it 14 months ago. It made no sense not to, but I don't want to embarrass Brockton. So where are we, Attorney Spotterford?
Sure, and as I read the Vice Chair's motion, I think they work well together. You're right, Mayor, that the City Council is the one who has to invite and appropriate sufficient funds because they have to absorb the cost of the state auditor coming in. So as I understood the Vice Chair's motion, it's to have this body support such an action and put it before the City Council for their support.
Okay.
So I don't think there's an action required of you, Mayor, unless the City Council approves this request. And as the Vice Chair said, the body will be voting almost on two things, right? To invite for the school committee audit, for the school department audit, and then secondarily to almost more of a resolve or resolution to encourage the city to take a similar action for non-school departments. So yes, the action tonight is really more of a request of the City Council saying that this is what we would like to have happen. Because you're a department of the City Council, or the city rather, we can't unilaterally bring in the state auditor, but it's certainly something you can put before the City Council as a request.
Thank you, Attorney Spotterford. I'm going to go to Mrs. Sullivan, followed by Mr. Vega, please.
Okay. Just a couple of points about this, and especially to the public, who are our taxpayers, who we're accountable to. The mayor's budget has won awards 2 separate years since he's been in.
5.
5?
5.
I'm
Every year
sorry,
I've been
Mayor.
there. Yeah. GFOA.
Okay.
Yep.
So I really don't think that
Wait, right.
the taxpayers talk about that, but the mayor's budget has won awards. 5 years?
5 years. We just got it the other day. Yep.
And you've been in how many years?
5 years.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Thank
Two
you.
people clapping. Tony, give me a little clap, huh? Hey, there you go. All right. Hey, happy holidays.
Okay. Now, this is my figure, so this may not be right, but already $957,000 of taxpayer money has been spent on a city investigation and a school committee audit. This is taxpayers' money that will be used to pay for this. The state is already in here working with the mayor, the superintendent, the city CFO, the school CFO, president of the city council, and vice chair of the school committee. So I believe that they would call out anything that is wrong. We need $5 million for transportation that we don't have, and the city's not going to give it to you. We shouldn't be looking to spend more money. We need to be looking to make major cuts to the schools. The city report revealed what happened. This is a waste of taxpayers' money. My vote is no.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Vega, please.
I definitely understand Ms. Sullivan's argument and see a lot of merit to it. And the vice chair and I are in agreement on on at least the need to request this, though maybe for different reasons. I think as we've talked about several times tonight, I think this is an opportunity for the two bodies to collaborate. I think it's an opportunity for folks in Brockton to see us working towards a common goal, that goal being a broad and clear understanding of how finances work in the city. I don't think anybody would say that more information to the residents who are asking for it, even in light, I think in many ways the audit was very eye-opening. It provided a ton of information. I'm in agreement with Ms. Sullivan on that. And it also opened up a series of questions that, that I think, and again, not questions that are meant to poke at anybody or take somebody down, but just questions that the taxpayers are asking that aren't, that merit some additional third-party observation. So I see this as a real potential win for the city and a potential a major step in the direction of our two bodies working more closely together.
Thank you, Mr. Vega. Any other questions? Just point of information, when I spoke to Auditor DeZoglia, and then I spoke to her chief of second auditor or whatever, and again, this was months ago, 14, 15 maybe, they told me that, as I said, there's different types of audits, right? There's performance audits, there's policy audits. So I can't sit here tonight and tell you that what is in that could be all-encompassing. I don't know that, but we'd have to find out directly from the auditor if the city council opts to do that. I know that certain things definitely cost money and certain things were relatively cheap. But what's the will of the committee at this time? Vice Chair?
Just a point of information. This isn't going to cost us $1 million. This isn't going to cost us half $500,000. A lot less. And I was talking to a few of the members. When you look at city-side investigation in RSM, and I said there was relatively, besides some key points on some issues that were in the city investigation that should, things that were in there that wasn't financial that was in there was kind of questionable relative to, documents that I received that, confidentially, like that wasn't in it. I'm like, wow, this should have been part of this investigation. But we already had the investigation in our hands. 2020 DESI report. The HR audit that was done close to 2 years ago that wasn't brought before this body. And then Open Architects. That was your investigation. Everything that's in RSM, besides a couple of issues, was already at the tip of our hands. I was looking forward to like what new information they're going to tell us that we already don't know. So it wasn't something that we already didn't know. But I think this request, as Mr. Vega said, shows the collaboration of this body making sure that BPS is getting the proper funds, our policies are in line, and it's, you know, the money's coming out of one pot. And the other thing is, you know, as one of the members said, there's an overreach. There's this continuous overreach. But let's not just put the black cloud over BPS, you know, every city department, because guess what? They're all coming out of the same pot. And there needs to have some oversight. And I believe the state auditor, that's her function. Okay, so you see that it was a ballot question that was passed for her to go and audit a whole, you know, the legislature. So to not support this measure leaves a lot of questions, and the residents can respond appropriately come election time.
So there was a motion made by you, Mr. Vice Chair. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gomes. Just on the motion again, Mrs. Sullivan.
I did look into it, and there will be a cost to it.
Do we know what that projected cost
No,
is?
I don't know what it will be, but there will be some cost.
I mean, we'll need to get that.
We don't know
'cause
what
the-
it will be.
The council
so-
won't do anything until we
minimal.
know the money.
So, we don't
Okay.
know what it will be.
Okay. I'm going to call the vote at this time. Anything else on the motion? Seeing none. Mrs. Sullivan?
No.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
No.
And I'm a yes as well. But again, the caveat that the process is the city council. So, yes, sir.
So you mentioned a couple of times there are different degrees of
Yes, that's what I
audit,
was
right?
explained to by Diana DeZoglia,
I-
yes.
I don't know. I don't know if this requires another vote, but is there the possibility of highlighting what the different options are and working with the city to agree on what type of audit?
So what I will do is I will ask Megan Bridges, the city solicitor, to designate one of her lawyers to reach out. Again, they're on Belmont Street, so there could be a face-to-face meeting. But we'd be foolish not to get, we can't move forward until we know what that is. So I will ask Attorney Bridges tomorrow. I have a 10:30 meeting with her. Thank you, Ms. Vega. We'll continue to move on. We have a pretty lengthy agenda tonight. Next matter is discussion and potential vote regarding the Finance Subcommittee meeting dated October 29, 2024. And I can't remember for the life of me what this was about. You know, Priya, I had reached out to you about this. and you said-
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Vice Chair,
So the only little issue with this was that we took the vote to pay for it in the subcommittee.
That's right,
but
and
we
not in the
missed-
formal.
We
That's
had to
right,
put it
that's
in
right,
the,
that's right.
in the full hearing.
What was the pay for again, Tony?
It was the 400,
Oh, the unpaid bills.
the unpaid bills that we paid for.
Yep. We talked about that in subcommittee several weeks ago, but it didn't come back that night to regular meeting. So we need belts and suspenders. We need to do it in regular meeting tonight because we only voted subcommittee. It was unanimous that night too, I believe. So that's the matter before us tonight. Right, Attorney Spotterfoot? Okay, so is there a motion relative to paying those bills as we voted in the subcommittee?
Motion to pay our bills.
Mr. Vega, thank you.
It was 22 and 23, no, 22, 23, and 24, correct?
It was previous years when Trish came before us, right? So it was the previous years, Mr. Vega.
Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's the form of the
Second.
motion.
Motion to pay previous years.
Yes.
Pay our bills
Thank
from
you.
the previous year.
Thank you, Mr. Vega.
All our bills.
Yeah.
Mr. Sullivan,
Second.
seconded. So I'll just raise a hand. If you're in favor, raise your hand kindly. If you're opposed, raise your hand. It passes unanimous, less one. Mr. Gomes is not in the room right now. Next matter actually is, and I want to thank Officer Mosley, I know he's here, school liaison, and it's school safety security, which is Agenda 7, please. Officer, good morning. Good morning. It's almost that time. Good evening.
Good morning. Long night. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Mayor, Superintendent, School Committee. Go over safety security real quick. So we're having a police exam on the 14th. It's free on the website for the, people that have signed up to apply for the job. Hold hold on a second. So Officer Moretta was asked to conduct a training to our bus drivers on emergency situations and protocols at West Middle School for communication and action to take place. I heard he did a really good job with that, going over some safety protocols with the bus drivers and stuff like that. Officer Mendez and Texera had an informal meeting and greet with the class in the green about jobs about police officers and the requirements on November 6th. Sergeant Livingston and John Snellgrove and Mara Mello attended a Handle with Care conference at Bridgewater State University on the 12th. Handle Care is a program that's enacted by the District Attorney, Tim Cruz, to collaborate with the police and emergency response team in school to get children intervention, counseling, and mental health assistance when encountering trauma incident that happened not during school hours. The Brockton Youth Academy is graduating on December 12th. The Youth Academy is an 8-week program that offers middle schools, gives a glimpse of what law enforcement's all about. It's actually, that's done by Sergeant Anderson. She does a great job with that, with the youth, and getting them, giving an idea of what we do as, day to day, and just kind of some of that. They do a lot of good fun stuff with that. She's really good with that stuff. Today we had another community-based juvenile justice meeting at BHS with the DA's office, juvenile probation, school deans, deputy superintendents, Brockton PD and school PD, and the safety security director. The school atmosphere is in a celebratory mood with the holidays coming up. Again, we're still working on improving some of the things that have been implemented at the beginning of the school year. Earlier today, I'm sure some of you are aware that there was a student that was struck by motor vehicles. Earlier this afternoon, coming home from school, around 6:30, I called the South Shore. She was transported to the South Shore. Only thing they could tell me that she's in stable condition. So that's all we know for now. Sergeant Livingston conducted an interview with our elementary kiddos. He wrote this, not me. Kiddos, about upcoming holidays, and let's take a look at this video with Sergeant Livingston.
Happy Thanksgiving. It's me, Sergeant Mike. I want to start a tradition here at the Brockton Public School System, a practice that I do within my family that started all the way back with my grandfather and my family in Philadelphia, where he would have us all sit around the table and tell what we are thankful for. So I went to all our elementary schools and interviewed some very special students to see where they'll be spending Thanksgiving, what's their favorite Thanksgiving food, and what are they most thankful for. So this is what we got, and I hope you enjoy.
My favorite Thanksgiving food is mashed potatoes. I will be spending Thanksgiving at my house, and I'm most grateful for my parents.
Very good.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey, and my favorite food is for Thanksgiving is salad. And what I'm thankful for Thanksgiving is my sister and my other brother that's coming up soon in Christmas. And I'm going to spend it in my cousin's place.
Hi, my name is Rafaela, and my favorite food for Thanksgiving is turkey, and I'm gonna spend my time at my auntie's house for Thanksgiving, and I'm so thankful that I have my family and friends at school. That's what I'm so thankful for Thanksgiving. Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm gonna spend a Thanksgiving at my house, and my favorite food is turkey, and I'm thankful for I have a family.
Hi, I'm Devin. My favorite food is macaroni and cheese, and I'm thankful for my sister. And
For Thanksgiving, I am going in the playground with my family. Hi, my name is David Lopez. I'm Ferda Raymond. My favorite food is chicken, and what I celebrated is at my house, and the most grateful thing what I ever had is for my family.
Hi, my name is Avrona Lamb, and I will be spending Thanksgiving at my house. And my favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving is baked turkey. And I'm mostly still a bit thankful for my family.
Daddy,
Yeah. What's your favorite food?
Daddy,
Daddy. Okay. Where will you be spending Thanksgiving?
at Grandma's house.
Grandma's. And what are you most thankful for about Thanksgiving? Nana? Yeah, I figured that. So, I gotta figure out what Daphne is, that food is. But you heard it here first, all the way from the Barrett Russell School. Me and my new friend, Jack, and we're saying happy Thanksgiving to y'all. Say bye, bro. Give me 5.
Hey, my name is Masha. My favorite food is turkey, and my favorite food to go is water bar, and my favorite is my family.
Hi, I'm Maya. I go to the Downey School, and I'm thankful for my family, and I'm thankful for being healthy. And what I'm having for Thanksgiving is mac and cheese and turkey. And
Where you be spending it at?
and I'm gonna spend it at my house.
Hi, I'm Natalie from 4th grade in the Mary E. Baker School, and one thing that I am most thankful for is that I've gotten another year to live. My favorite food is raviolis, and one thing I'm going to be doing this year for Thanksgiving is I'm going to be celebrating with my family at a restaurant.
I'm Ellie from the Davis School in 3rd grade, and I'm most thankful for my family and friends. My favorite meal is turkey, and I'm going to my grandma's house.
My name is Kiara. I'm in 3rd grade, and
Favorite food?
my favorite food is rice with chicken, and I'm going to be spending my Thanksgiving at home, and I'm grateful for my mom and dad.
Hi, my name is Eric, and I'm thankful for my family and my dad and mom, and I like to eat turkey and chicken, and we're going to be having that at my grandma's house and dad's house. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you for spending this time with us here. And again, I want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. I hope this is a tradition that we can start and continue for years to come. So from the Brockton school system, from the Brockton School Police, and from Brockton Police, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye. Yeah, fine, girl. Give me 5.
That's great.
With the video, as you see, Sergeant Livingston's very animated. He'll tell you he's a pretty big deal when it comes to this stuff. He likes doing this stuff, but his daughter helped him do that video. It was nice. Any questions?
Any questions for the officer?
Good.
Exactly. What is your favorite Thanksgiving food?
Mine is stuffing in the turkey, in the cranberry
What are you
sauce.
thankful for?
Sweet potatoes, huh?
What are you thankful for?
Waking up.
Thank you, officer. That concludes agenda item 7. 8 is announcements. I just have a couple announcements. For any retirees, both city or school teachers, even if you get your pension from MTA. There's a new program that we're doing right now. It's the dental program for retirees. It's Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's a one-page form. It's an unbelievable policy right now from the city of Brockton. So if anybody's watching this and you're interested in dental, I know for a fact because I just brought my parents' form in to City Hall. The deadline is this coming Friday to get it into HR. So if you have any interest in getting dental and you're a retiree, either city or school, it's a direct withdrawal from your pension, either city or MTA. To cover it, I believe it's $50 an individual a month or $150 for a married family plan. So again, if you're interested, please be in touch with the city HR department. And then also, we won't be together next week. Again, it's Thanksgiving, but then we have the holiday parade on Saturday the 30th. And the library will be starting their activities, the Thomas P. Kennedy Library, the main library downtown, at 9 a.m. All the elected officials will be meeting where we always meet at Sycamore Grove in the back. And the kickoff of the parade will be at noon. It's going to be a really large, as of last week, we had 57 different people marching, organizations marching. It's being run this year. Chief of Staff Sidney Merrow, Courtney Henderson, who you met tonight, Celia Canavan in my office, and also Jasmine Bradshaw are running point on that. We have a lot of volunteers. And then from 1 to 3, across from City Hall, across from diagonal from Brockton Beer, but it's still School Street. There will be a Winter Wonderland sponsored by the Brockton Police. It's going to be enclosed tent, but it's all friendly activities for kids. So again, that's Saturday the 30th, 2 days after Thanksgiving. So any other announcements at this time? Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you. Actually, one is just maybe a request. I'd like to invite our class officers at the high school to march with us. They are elected. Technically, they're elected into their positions, and you know what? I think it'd be nice to invite them. I know some of them are probably in the band, but those that can attend, we should just have them walk with us. They are part of our schools, representing our schools as far as elected positions. And for those, I've been getting...
Student representative as well.
Yeah, a student representative. It would be nice, because a lot of them, you saw them, they remembered us from last year, and it's great to build relationships with our students. So I've been getting some emails requesting coats. We did hit the max. I do have some coats, usually give or take. It's first come, first serve is how it's going to be, because we're limited on certain sizes. I was at facilities the other day. Thank you to Linda Pizzi. She was there today while I was at a workshop filling some orders for me. So I'll be there all day tomorrow from 9:30 until probably 4 o'clock. And I'll be there all day on Friday from, same thing, 9:30, 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock. I want to get as many coat requests filled as we can to get these out to the students before Thanksgiving. And most likely I'll probably be there one day next week, most likely Monday. I just don't know yet. But we just want to get these coat requests out. So if you get a coat with a slip on it, somebody requested that coat, whether it was a school, a guardian, or a parent. So if your child comes home with a bag and it's got a slip on it, somebody requested that coat for them. And thank you to Cradles to Crayons, because again, I have to go look back, but this is amazing, how they give back to Brockton. So I'd love to, maybe in January or February, invite Cradles to Crayons and have some kind of a presentation. We were going to do that, and then COVID hit. We were actually going to go into the State House, and Senator Brady was going to have like a luncheon and stuff for them. So I'd like to do something, because they do give a lot to Brockton. So I want to recognize that and show them that we do appreciate it. So, and then maybe we should, at the end, say what we are thankful for. Start a new tradition and follow what Sergeant Livingston has started. But, it can't always be business. We have to, we all work together, and I'm thankful for our committee. We might not always agree, but we as a body are putting our students and our staff first. And I'm thankful for our BPS staff, and I'm thankful for our new superintendent, who's leading us in a good direction. You jumped in feet first, but I'm thankful. I think we'll be okay. You've done a lot in a short period of time. So we're thankful for everyone, and wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Azak. Any other, Ms. Vice Chairman?
First, I just want to let the public know that this Thursday, South Middle School will hold a Hall of Fame banquet at 6 p.m. at Joe Angelo's. Thank you to the committee that hosts this, and Mr. Jim Stapleton. And also the Brockton High Hall of Fame will be this Saturday at 6 p.m. at Thorny Lee. If any of the members want to attend, we do have some citations on behalf of the school committee that we presented to both events. And then also annual Thanksgiving football game, which will be at Brockton High, 10 a.m. I believe, against BR. If members can attend, share it on social media, and get things going there. I just want to enlighten that, last week, myself and other members of the committee did attend the annual mass conference, which they put on every year. I know we can't attend all of these breakout sessions. There's so much knowledge and information that we get when it comes to mask. I take all of the opportunities, 70 on Zooms, and this year, which I always do. So I took the liberty of, reviewing what, I don't want to say everything on here is important, but I just wanted to highlight some of the trainings and sessions that I personally attended. Some other colleagues. What should be in your budget documents? One of those is very informal, where Tracy Novak, one of the field representatives for MASC, and also a business administrator as well, gave an in-depth presentation. She always does that. I did talk to her to see if we can schedule something where she can come back again, because that was one of the weaknesses of the school committee. Also, there was a session where using data to inform school budgets and policy. Another one of the presenters of that was Danielle Kane and Sam Rednick, which is the Executive Director of Mass Education and Career Research and Data Hub, taking all of that data to make sure that your budget is in line with those policies. And then the other one that was very interesting was the leadership stability and positive outcomes in urban and suburban districts. Diversification, also I'm part of the DESE training on how to diversify the school district and grants, and how do we retain that, looking at our data, putting that in, what the school district can do better in that aspect. And then the last, one of the last ones that, not all of it, but one of the last trainings that myself and the superintendent and all the other members was the special education financial issues and impact of management, where it was very, very, very interesting with our sped numbers going up and down, affects transportation we're dealing with. And it was very interesting, just by putting a plus sign and a slash affects us huge in finances of what we receive for funding. So those are one of the things that the superintendent did note, and was like, well, this is something we have to take a deeper dive in to make sure that we're not missing that, and if we are, how we correct that to make sure that we get those funds to us. On the other pieces that people question, and like, what training do we have? This is one of them. This is just a small. We all sitting here took and charting the course. I've taken like 9 within 5 years, and they've even asked me to go teach some of the classes because I've attended so many of them. But the biggest thing about that is that even though it's basically the same things on their agenda, but there's always a different topic of conversation when it comes to certain school districts across the Commonwealth. Like, what are you doing versus what are we doing here in Brockton, and how we can better ourselves as committee members to get as much knowledge as possible. At the end of the day, I don't work full time. I'm not an educator, but it's just my job to educate myself as much as possible to make the more corrective decision. And those decisions are talking to district leadership and also the ground crew. I'm not saying ground crew because that kind of sounds like we're at Logan Airport, but the staff the educators, the support staff in the district, what's really going on, so we can make those corrective decisions. So I just implore, and we all get those memos from MASC and all the trainings, and I think in order for some of us to be more effective, that we just have to take those opportunities and take those courses to make sure that we have all the knowledge possible, because it's not just coming here in the meeting and making a vote or a motion to make sure that we move the district forward.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I also just want to say, myself and the Vice Chair on Saturday night, we're at the 70th anniversary gala for the NAACP. I know Anna was going to go and she had a sick child, but it honored veterans, including Mr. Howard Carter Jr., who's a Tuskegee Airman. He's 96 years young, and it was a really great endeavor to be able to give citations on behalf of the school committee. So we thank President Ellis, and it was well received. There's one individual that we're going to go to his house and present it, Mr. Trask, Dr. Trask, but kudos to everybody, because it was really, the veterans were really touched by the citations. Thank you. Any other follow-up, Ms. Azak?
I know it's getting late, but just to piggyback off of what Mr. Vice Chair Rodriguez mentioned, just want to point this out. I mean, some of the classes I attended, actually one of them, it was a security class, and I know I've already spoken with the superintendent, and we're going to meet a little further on that with our IT. It's definitely an eye-opener, some of these classes that they do provide, but I just want to point out that for the members that attended, we had so many people from all over. Now we're talking all over Massachusetts that came up to us. Either they were congratulating us on Dr. Tahiliani and having her as our superintendent, and she was a rock star. Like, she was, everyone was like, where's Priya? Where's Priya? Or, you guys are so lucky. So, Brockton has always been a leader. Sometimes, we do end up in the newspaper or the news, but people were coming up to us, and people do look at Brockton sometimes because we do take chances and we do step out of the box. But but as far as Dr. Tahiliani, it's just everyone kept saying to us, she's amazing. But they were congratulating us and making it a point to wherever we were stopped. So it was definitely a great experience, definitely this year. So it's a wonderful experience if the members can make it. It's always educational. We always bring something back. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Azak. Ms. Oliver, please.
Quick thing about the conference, just to let everybody know that the resolution, thank you for making me want to delegate. I was stuck there all night. It was fun driving back from, Cape area at 8 o'clock at night. But it was a good experience. There was over 100 delegates in there. So I was excited learning a new, I'm always up for new tasks and new experience. The resolution that Brockton did put forward did pass. So you never know, this might come to a ballot very soon that we will be voting on, moving the age from 16 to 18. It was a little bit of debate about not changing it, but we did, move it through, and it did pass. So it was very exciting going up there. I think there's a picture somewhere of me speaking on it, but it was very exciting just going up there and just basically advocating for this resolution and moving forward. But I'm proud that Brockton's name is going to be attached to this resolution, so I'm very excited. Yep.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm sorry.
Real quick.
Mr. Gomes.
Yes, I'm going to add a little bit to that as well. Out of all the workshops that we were fortunate to attend, we did attend a mental health collaborative workshop. I think it's definitely something worth bringing in front of this committee. There was an organization, which is the Mental Health Collaborative, who provide mental health resources and trainings for both teachers and students and parents alike in regards to anything related to mental health, specifically in a school setting. They do, everything comes at a cost and so on and so forth, but they did a great presentation. We saw a lot of the outcome of that program. And I did, went on to ask a bunch of questions, costs, follow-up studies, so on and so forth. And they said if it depends on the community, they don't have anything implemented in Brockton currently, but they would love to work with us. They also do provide grants if, funding is a problem. They provide, they'll work with us, of course. grants, low cost implementation, so on and so forth. And it could be resources that you can purchase one time, have it, they can train the trainers. I heard this earlier, I don't remember if it was during the presentation or something, and that's something that they also do. They'll train the teachers can train other staff and even students, bringing more mental health awareness to this environment, especially in the school setting. And another cool thing that they're working on is a post-graduation program, which they're doing a pilot program right now for college students. I'm working with them on that for some of the college students that I'm working with to see how successful it can be and impactful it can be for these students. And if that, does take off, it could benefit our students a lot. And I think, I would recommend that our superintendent, Dr. Tahiliani, does work with these individuals. I can share the contact information. They have emailed me. We've exchanged emails back and forth to see what we can do with that resource that they're willing to provide. Anna and I also talked about, we brought this up during the conference, about a mental health and well-being subcommittee for the school committee. I feel like we have a subcommittee for almost everything, but we don't have anything specific to mental health and well-being for both students and staff. I think that's also something worth looking into to see if it's something we can implement, vote on, or whatever the steps we need to take to do so. Now, moving away from that, public announcement. This is mainly for everybody here and public at home. As elected officials, we are here to work for the public. We have phone numbers, we have emails listed on the website. You can reach out to us with questions, comments, concerns, things that you want us to come here and discuss and see what's going on. And attending the city council meeting, we talked a lot about collaboration, and we got to start looking at moving forward. All fine with that. Recently, what had happened that I've seen happening in the past, but I was never involved because I use my social media for, advertising news, good information to the city of Brockton, the people that follow me. But in our last meeting, I had questioned the legal fees that came to the school district for the investigation that was run by the city. And I come to find out I don't follow the city council, some of them. But it came to my attention that 2 city councilors had tweeted about me inquiring about these fines. And it was Win Farwell and Susan Castro. I wasn't going to mention the names, but I think for the sake of holding people accountable and moving forward, if anybody has any concerns with things that we discuss here, this is why we have these meetings, is to ask questions, is to see why things are being done the way they're being done. And whether it's city councilors, the mayor, city CFO, residents, students, whomever, you can call us, you can email us with questions, comments, concerns. Now, to go on Facebook and make a post, and they did mention me, that's why I'm addressing this, because I don't like going back and forth with any of the members, saying that I was making misleading comments and, dragging on about why the school doesn't want to pay for investigations, so on and so forth. It's just inappropriate from my standpoint. I have the right to ask those questions on behalf of myself as a resident and taxpayer, and on behalf of other individuals for the city and the students that we serve. And I had all rights, and all the information that were provided was just all over. So it was here that I had the opportunity to clarify. Now, of course, I would never do that. This is the first time I've done that. I went on and I made a full explanation, because they said to tell the whole story, that we're making misleading comments, and I wanted to explain everything. And it was all pertaining to the investigation. Point of information, we spent almost $1 million for that investigation. Okay? And not a lot of people knew this. Almost $1 million. We were in a deficit. They claimed that they bailed out the school committee, the school, and so on and so forth. We paid all this money to cover for the deficit and whatnot, yet we agreed to pay almost $1 million for an investigation, which is fine because it did provide, insightful information that we're using now to implement and take actions. However, it was not done the way it was supposed to be. And I'm speaking in regards to the portion that the school paid for the investigation. Over $447,000. On top of what the city council had already paid, another $400-something thousand. And that value that the school ended up paying never came in front of the school committee. That's what was upsetting. We probably would have no issue with paying for it if we had the funds, because it was insightful. It provided a lot of valuable information. However, the way that those funds were acquired and paid for it was not properly done. And of course, without having those information, I had to ask the questions. And hopefully for future, things that we bring to this body and we are, exploring what's going on and how we can address it. If you have a question, whether you're elected official, you're a resident, call us. Let's talk about it. Don't go try to get those aha, gotcha moment on social media, please. It was upsetting, and then the fact that they, talked about Ward 2 representative, it had me take steps to address it. And what's even more upsetting is if you look at the way that this investigation took place is, I want to know where's the RFP for the company that did the investigation? Was that ever done? Because I have no information about that. We signed
under procurement, point of information, under procurement law, legal services do not need RFPs.
This could be given to us, but we didn't know about this. We didn't know we were paying for it, so we didn't worry about it. We signed a contract for an investigation. We don't know the total price of the investigation. It took almost 10, 11 months, and they were charging hourly. Why did we not set boundaries to how long it should take, or give me a set price, take as long as you need? These are things I will be asking, and if anybody has any comments, questions, concerns, call us, let's talk about it. Don't make social media posts, especially as an elected official, trying to get the I gotcha moment. Or like, I'm informing the public, you making misleading comments. Come on. So to these two individuals that I've just mentioned, please, if anything like this ever happens again, reach out. Our numbers on the webpage, our emails are there, email us. I would love to talk about this and see, this happened, maybe next time we can work on this like this. You guys should have informed us because there's a process to doing things.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Collins.
you.
Going to move on. I think it's almost 10 o'clock and we have executive session. I will read Agenda 9, executive session. There's two matters. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct a grievance hearing pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement between the Brockton School Committee and the Teamsters Local Number 653 International Brotherhood of Teamsters Custodial. And then the other matter is superintendent's contract. And then the second executive session matter is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, as chair I so declare, BEA, BESPA, IBAA-TEA, Teamsters. I need to take a motion. Please go into executive session. Motion is made by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Vega. I'll have to call a roll call. Mr. Sullivan? Yes. Mr. Vega? Yes. Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver? Yes. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan? Yes. I'm a yes as well. I will let you know that we will be coming back into session. And again, I don't want to hold up BCA here. If we go into executive session and it changes and we're not coming back into executive session, I will come back out and we'll work with the attorney to notify you. I don't want to hold you up all night, but as of right now, I'll make a declaration that we will be coming back into open session. Thank you. This is Mayor Sullivan as chair of the school committee. We will not be coming back into formal session. We are still in executive session. Just to let everybody know that was waiting for us. And I want to thank BCA for being very, very patient. We are still in executive session, and the caveat is we will not be coming back in open session. Have a good evening.